on everything. Call 800-BUY-DEL or visit Dell.com/President's Day. That's 800-BUY-DEL.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so they're best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Well, as the world's blandest man, the idea of insurance made for me is almost riveting.
Big fan of beige?
I find other neutrals too unpredictable.
That's cool. Liberty Mutual's just here to protect your home with customized insurance.
And here we've got my doorstop collection.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
KFC's Colonel Sanders here. We all love sitting down to a home-cooked meal with family, but there's rarely enough hours in the day to do the cooking. So let me do the cooking for you. Well, not me personally, that's just a turn of phrase. Your KFC will do the actual cooking. The point is, let someone else do the home cooking for you. Come to KFC and pick up a $20 fill-up. That's 8 pieces of chicken or 12 tenders and all the fixins to feed your family. Order ahead at KFC.com. Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. $20 fill-up not available with delivery. Tax and substitution extra. Delivery service and additional fees may apply.
The radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey.
Give them
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
All right, I can guarantee this. Josh is off today. The last time Josh was off, Doug Peterson got fired. I would imagine with Josh off today, Carson Wentz will be traded today. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. I'm your host, Mike Gill. That's Hunter Brody. Josh has the day off. So we are steering this ship kind of ourselves. It's a little odd when you're just doing the show, the two of us in here, and there's nobody else in here. Like, even Josh, like, I can't see him. He is in here, and, like, the presence of him, like, it feels like if something goes wrong or something happens, we have something there. There is no safety valve today.
That's fine. We'll get it done.
I think we will.
Yeah.
But the last time he was out, Peterson got fired.
Yeah, it was a little hectic that day.
It was.
Behind the scenes, we got it accomplished, though.
So this weekend, really the big news happened on Saturday, and it was a pretty big whopper. The latest on the Carson Wentz trade. ESPN Adam Schefter reported on Saturday that the Eagles are expected to trade Carson Wentz in the coming days. So it looks like that's going to happen. I have heard that it could be today or tomorrow. I would imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if it was by the end of the show today. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened tomorrow. They're going to let the dust settle, figure out what deals best. Chicago has picked 20. Indianapolis has picked 21. So I'm imagining they're kind of going through that. There's supposed to be a third, quote-unquote, mystery team. I'm imagining the Eagles are throwing that in there to try to drive up the price a little bit. But I would imagine he's either going to be in Chicago or Indianapolis by the end of today's show or sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, I would agree. It seems like it's already somewhat in place. It's just maybe a little details here and there for both of these teams to maybe fight for one another, or maybe it's already done and they're just waiting for the Super Bowl dust to settle.
I mean, at this point, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Tom Brady, and that was a game last night, obviously, that we'll get into, and Brady wins another Super Bowl. He wins another MVP. So maybe they're just letting Brady get all the accolades, and then they'll boom. But it's going to happen. I mean, the inevitability of this is now here. The Carson Wentz is getting traded. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube on that one. So now that you hear it, Carson Wentz is getting traded. It's going to happen. Does it feel different?
No, it feels like it needs to happen. So I'm not like, it's if you look big picture, though, it's disappointing to think that you won a Super Bowl and that head coach is gone, that quarterback is gone, and now you're in this situation where you have a bunch of 39-year-old coaches and you don't know what you have. You're really just being sold something and you're trying to get bought in from a front office that a lot of this fan base doesn't believe in right now, that they don't have much trust with, and they're the ones trying to sell you. So it's a tough scenario in Philadelphia as we speak.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I don't know. There's a couple of rumors of what could be in the deal, what can't be in the deal. I mean, at this point, it sounds like the Eagles could get a first-round pick back in return. So all the people out there that want to trade Carson Wentz is a first-round pick. Are you excited and surprised by that? Because, they got 2 first-round picks for Stafford. You're in the boat now where it sounds like you could get a first-round pick where, I don't know, did people think that getting a first-round pick was going to be possible?
Probably not. If he asked a few days before that Matthew Stafford trade and all, I would say probably not. People didn't think it would be that high, but maybe that's because we saw Carson Wentz every single day, every single down, every single throw. So when we dissect someone to that level, we talk about it in such a heavy way where people on the outside might know that he struggled, but because we saw it so much that our perspective changes on how he's viewed around the league. So when you see a first-round draft pick for Wentz and you're an opponent on the other side, you go, you get an opportunity to get your hands on a guy that was once MVP level for a first-rounder. They weren't in the trenches every single throw like we were, so maybe we look down upon it more just based off of being involved.
The 2 teams are interesting, Chicago and Indianapolis. Both have ties to Wentz. You've got Frank Reich there in Indianapolis that has ties to Wentz, along with Press Taylor. You also have John DeFilippo, who is in Chicago, who had Wentz in his best season. The problem was there was a lot of reports that Wentz and him didn't get along very well because DeFilippo was so tough on him. But what's the message to say, hey, DeFilippo's willing to take him back and go through that again?
Does that tell you that maybe it wasn't as bad? Like, yes, it was tough, but it was a workable tough. It was a good tough. It wasn't this disturbing tough that Carson Wentz couldn't handle. If the Bears are in on him, I would imagine that DeFilippo is in the mix saying, yeah, I want to work with this guy again. He is a great quarterback. So, not that I'd be shocked if he went somewhere and succeeded. I just think here it's over.
All right, we got comments coming in already over on, if you're watching the show live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, through our website, 973ESPN.com. Look, if you're not very technical savvy and you're like, how do you watch this thing? Go to our website. You'll see it right up on the screen. Watch the Sports Bash, and you can go watch it there. Rob Fishbein, there's my guy, Rob. He was my catcher when I was in Little League. Do you know that?
No, I
did
not.
A little fun fact for Fish, who's watching on Facebook. By the way, it's so weird. I called a basketball game the other night, and his son is playing at the high school, and I'm like, this is not fair. Like my guy that was my catcher growing up, his son's playing high school basketball, and I'm calling his game now. He says that's a steal because he's not worth a first-round pick. Let's take what we can get, but I still don't think Jalen Hurts is the answer either. Would love to see them go get a quarterback in the draft.
I wonder if we look at it from this perspective with Deshaun Watson. Are you willing to give up the house for Watson if you could take a chance on Wentz for a first-round pick? If you want to think about, as an organization, making the trade, you possibly can get an MVP-level guy if you can fix him up, but you're not giving up as much, so maybe it's better for them to take that shot.
Bro, this is what disappoints me. I don't want to have to go back through finding a quarterback again. You thought you were through that for 10, 15 years. We got to find a quarterback. You got to get a guy in the draft. Like, I don't want to have to, go back through the trial and error of finding a quarterback. Like, you thought you had that guy. And did you not have it? Were you so wrong? What happened? I think all of that is now entering my mind when I hear that the trade is imminent is, wait a second. Now, like Fish just said, now you got to get another quarterback, or maybe it's Jalen Hurts. Like, this seems like when you had Kevin Cobb, you drafted him, you traded McNabb away because you thought you had Cobb. Cobb couldn't play. Then you had Vic. Then you had Foles. Then you went back to Vic. I mean, you couldn't find a quarterback until you finally went. You traded for Bradford. You went through all these vagabond quarterbacks until you finally got Wentz. And now I think you're back on the same path where You drafted this guy in the second round. It's almost the same story. You drafted Cobb in the second round. You didn't need Cobb. You had McNabb. Well, little did we know, you ended up trading McNabb to play Cobb. Well, Cobb couldn't play. Can Hurts not play? I don't know that, but I feel like I'm living the same story over again.
Unless
Hurts can play.
Or they find their guy at 6.
See, I feel like this is what bothers me. I had a quarterback. I have a 6th pick. So, okay, sometimes you have a bad season. Look what happened last night in that Super Bowl. That Chiefs team didn't have a shot. Why? They don't suck. Why did they have no shot last night?
Their offensive line.
Their offensive line
hold on.
was an absolute disaster
That
last
would defend my point all season long of Wentz isn't this bad. There's a lot of reasons why Carson Wentz is playing this pathetic, right? Because Mahomes looked a lot like 11 out there. So, I mean, I'm just saying we went back and forth all year long to now see that the offensive line to this level made him look like Wentz. Well, that's kind of what I was saying all season long, that this team and the surrounding pieces and everything surrounding the team kind of made Wentz look worse than what he was.
Well, there's an article that came out today that kind of negates that.
Yeah, it says that
point.
what? They're 15th. The line was 15th in the league in
Pro
Football Focus.
A lot of people said that in the article it was quoted as it wasn't the line's fault as much as he was missing guys. But that being said, the Chiefs don't suck. Their line was beat up and battered, and you're not going to win with that situation. You're just not going to win. And I don't know. Look, I was willing to give Wentz another shot. I was, to see if what you're saying, like I said all year, I saw a guy who was just missing open players.
Yeah, it was both. It was everything surrounding him, and he was missing everything.
Yeah, but and I've been on record of saying this. I think the offensive line injuries was the biggest problem this team has, and that they get these guys back next year. I've seen this same story. They went 4-12 in 2012 because that line was a mess, and then they won 10 games the very next year. When they won 4 games, people thought this team was an absolute mess, and they weren't. This time around, I felt like I have a quarterback. I got a high draft pick. I don't need to restart and get another quarterback. I could go help the quarterback. The problem is, if I trade the quarterback, now I got to start at square one. And I'm not all that excited about starting at square one. That's my point.
No, I agree with you. I'm in the same boat as you. I don't want to have to do this, but unfortunately, here's where we are. And I know like the easy thing to say is Carson Wentz is an awful person, bad teammate. He can't relate. There's got to be something that we will never know about that truly went down between this organization. Like, I find it hard to believe that it's as simple as Carson Wentz felt disrespected because they drafted a guy in the second round. If that is the case, well, then shame on me for thinking it's more than that. But I have to imagine that there's something that's going on internally that we will just never know about that truly upset both sides. Because there's no way that it falls this low and it crushes this fast if that wasn't the case. Like, logically, something had to have happened internally that we'll just never know. We'll never know.
Well, you fire the coach, and that's not enough. Like, you thought, okay, let's give you a clean slate, and that still wasn't enough. And I can see the people out there listening probably saying, it's Roseman.
I think it's a combination of everybody. Like, there's a lot of people around this league right now kind of looking at Howie Roseman, ex-players of the Eagles, going, it's weird because he's respected in the league, but he's also hated at the same time.
I want to play something for you guys out there. This was 3 years ago today. All right? This happened 3 years ago today, all right? And you guys probably know what I'm actually talking about here. This was the famous speech by one Jason Kelce, all right? And I will play it for you guys so that you can hear. I want to play the first part of it because listen who he singles out first. So here's Jason Kelce up on the podium on his high horse, a speech that every Howie Roseman hater out there loves, and the first person he singles out for winning that Super Bowl is not the coach, it's not the quarterback, it's not any other player, it's Roseman.
But isn't that Jason Kelce, though? He's that way with everybody. He was that way with Wentz this year. He was that way. He's always just kind of supporting who he works with all the time. And he's also hammered as can be. And, like, I don't put a lot, like, that doesn't mean much to me, to be honest with you. Because this guy, you're in your emotions. You're in your feels. You're on a Super Bowl parade. You're going to praise everybody that day.
Well, I mean, my point is, Roseman, everybody thinks that he's the problem and everybody hates this guy. I don't think Kelsey's going out of his way to make sure that he's telling the whole story about him getting sent down the hallway. I never saw this guy for a year. I don't know that he's going to those lengths if he thinks Roseman's a problem.
I mean, he's definitely to act as if anyone.
I'm not saying he's not part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I would, if you look at social media and look at Eagles fans, they don't think he's part of the problem. They think he's the only problem.
Yeah, he's definitely not the only problem, but he definitely is a part of these problems that we are witnessing now. And I just think at that point, like Doug Peterson, this is the new norm, fired 3 years later. I mean, I just think at this point, when you look at that speech, well, I understand what you're saying. He obviously credited the man, but he hit on every free agent that year, which is a big part of their success that season. It's hard when you're drunk and in your feelings to really be like, you know what? Everything you said.
Well, when you're drunk and in your feelings, you can also rip the guy.
Yeah, can you imagine? Jeez.
Hey, I saw that come up today, and I was like, 3 years ago, I wanted to take a listen to it. And I was kind of like, the first guy he brings up, and he went through a bunch of other guys, and he just kind of blip, 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 blip. This guy can't catch. That guy can't do this. This guy can't do that. He went out of his way to kind of tell the whole story like, hey, this guy was thrown down the hall. I never saw the guy. And he actually said when he came back, he was a different guy.
Well, guess what? Since then, he's been a different guy since that Super Bowl. I mean, we can't deny that, right? He changed over again to a different version of himself.
Well, and look, I'm in the camp that I don't think Roseman is the problem. I think he's part of the problem. Has he made mistakes? Sure. But I don't, again, I go back to what we talked about on Friday. People think, I saw somebody post on our Facebook page, I see a decade of 4-12s. They have no track record of 4-12s. They had one back-to-back losing season since Howie Roseman has been a part of this organization. If you want to win the Super Bowl every year, fine. You're disappointed in Roseman, and then your expectations are, hey, I want to win the Super Bowl, and he's not good enough to win the Super Bowl every single year. I would agree with you. You're not going to win the Super Bowl every single year if Howie Roseman is your GM, nor anybody else, by the way. But if your expectation is, I want to have a winning team and I want to constantly have a shot to win a Super Bowl, maybe once every 5 years we have that team that is good enough. And those other 4 years, we have a nice fun ride and we're close, but we're not quite there. Then Roseman can get that done. He has proven that this team has constantly been a winning team. They've had one back-to-back losing season. They went 7-9 in 2015. They went 7-9 in 2016, followed by winning the Super Bowl. So to suggest that a long period of 4-12 is on the way, there's no track record of that with this front office. None.
I don't disagree with you. I don't think that. I keep hearing 5 years. 5 years are going to get this thing figured out. I'm more in the camp of next year is going to be growing pains just because, look, you got a lot of young coaches involved, and I think everything internally right now is somewhat going to bleed into the season, and there's so much turmoil, and there's so much weirdness going on that I think next year might be a bit of a down year, but I see this as 2 years, and they'll be bouncing back within 2 years of each other. I don't think it's 5.
Well,
I don't think I think 2 years we might be battling a bit, but we'll see from there. But I don't think it's ridiculous to think it might be like a 2-year spurt.
I don't disagree with you there because, again, this team has a track record of, hey, we have a down year here, we're mediocre there.
If they go 7-9 next year, after going 4-win season this year, while it's an under 500 season, how would that be perceived? A 7-9 season next year. How would that be perceived with Nick Sirianni and a new coaching staff? Would that be a negative? Would that be a positive? I don't know.
I don't either because Doug went 7-9 his first year and people thought he was an idiot. And then he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but no one thought that he would be fired or anything with the 7-9 season.
There were some people that were.
Oh, you're right. That was a question mark, but not really. It was, but it wasn't.
Jordan is on Facebook, says, so we fired Doug for what reason? I thought we fired Doug because we thought Wentz was long-term. We fired a Super Bowl head coach for a singular player who wants out of the franchise weeks later. Does it change your opinion on firing Doug if Wentz is also gone?
Yes. Yes, it does. But the problem is the way that it played out, you didn't know it was going to be this way. But does that also tell you that the way the ownership viewed it had nothing to do with their relationship. It had everything to do with who Doug Peterson wanted to bring back from a coaching staff standpoint. Maybe they didn't have any sort of disconnect between Carson and Doug. It was more so just Doug and what his philosophy was. But it does change my perspective because that was one of the reasons it kind of seemed like you were going in the direction of a new coach because of Carson Wentz.
Does it make you out there? I want you guys to take a listen to, this is more from Jason Kelsey. You just heard what he said about Howie Roseman. Now he goes into his diatribe on Doug Peterson. Here's this guy. He wasn't playing for mediocre. He was playing to win the Super Bowl, and they fired him.
It's kind of weird listening to this. I'm not going to lie. It's almost like you don't appreciate, because of where they are right now as an organization, it's hard to look back and appreciate what they did right now. Maybe it'll change for me. Maybe I'm the outlier. I don't know. But when I watch that, when I hear that, it's like, hold on a second.
What did we just do?
Not so much what did we just do, but how did we
That's what I think.
Well, how did we get here?
How did we get here? What did we do? Did we make, are we overreacting? Look, I don't say, am I overreacting? Because I would have just said, look, I would have kept the coach. If you would have picked one over the other, I would have kept the coach and tried with, hey, if you and Wentz can't get along, fine. We'll move Wentz. I'll keep the coach. To get rid of both of them sounds like.
Do you think they have a plan? Or do you think this was so thrown on them that they're trying to make a plan as they're going?
That's a great question. Did they just all of a sudden say, we're going to fire Peterson and hope that we can fix Wentz?
Well, remember, that was never in the plan. The reason why Doug got fired, he was going to be brought back. It's just because of this coaching staff debacle. So when that happened, it was, okay, what do we do now? And then it's, okay, what do we do now with the quarterback? And then before you know it, you have everyone out of the building for the most part that won you that Super Bowl. So it almost feels like they were making decisions, knee-jerk reactions to it all, and now they find themselves in this spot where they got to sell to us. This is some genius plan. And in the back of their minds, this got all thrown together within a couple of weeks after the season ended.
Absolutely. There was a detour that came somewhere between the end of the season and when Doug got fired that they had to all of a sudden go to plan C. Because I think plan A was we're going to bring Doug back, and plan B was we're going to bring Doug back with Carson Wentz and let them. And then something happened in there to where they said, all right, well, we'll get rid of Doug, and then we'll bring a new guy in, and then he'll work with Wentz. And then that was like, we still haven't heard from Wentz. Okay, well, now we're really in trouble because we got rid of the coach, and now the quarterback doesn't want to come back. So now we have a new coach, and the quarterback doesn't want to play for him. Uh-oh, now what?
Where are we? What are we discussing today?
Andrew says, hey, guys, do you think there's any truth to this? Now, there's been a lot of rumored deals out there, and the one thing that we can tell you that we think we know, and that's from Adam Kaplan, who was on our show Friday, and he said Chicago and Indianapolis are both teams that we know have made calls. So I feel pretty confident in saying that. All these other reports of, Wentz, and they're going to get Nick Foles back, and they're going to get a draft pick, and they're going to get somebody else. I cannot verify any of that. Now, some people would say, why would they get Wentz? And I tweeted out kind of jokingly, the one thing Howie Roseman can do to win back all the people who hate Roseman is go back and get Foles so they can't hate him for going to get the guy that they all love. Right?
Yeah,
that would be
funny.
So Roseman to be like, you guys don't like me? I'll bring back Nick Foles. Now what are you going to do? You can't hate me if I bring back Nick Foles. Can't do it.
Half the fan base would like him. The other half would still probably
I have no
destroy.
interest in bringing back Nick Foles,
Well,
especially if he's coming back with another coach. You told me Peterson was here. Maybe I'm somewhat intrigued, but Peterson's not even here.
I agree with you. If Doug Peterson was here, I think I'd feel a little bit interested with the Nick Foles dynamic, but it's all because of the contract. It's ironic that it's Nick Foles, but that's in that scenario, this hypothetical that we don't really, is not confirmed. That's the brutal bad contract that gets thrown in that you need to take back. And we're talking about Nick Foles, the guy that everyone wanted to stay here. He's the salary dump because someone else signed him to a big deal. How ironic is that? This is how it all plays out.
And my buddy was like, why do they need Foles? And I was like, well, because they have salary problems. You're giving them a quarterback that's going to give them more salary problems. So they need you to take back one of their problems just to take on one of your problems. And the irony is the two guys who are the problems traded for each other are the two guys who have started this whole mess. By the way, I did get a text from a source who told me the Eagles are confirmed to be attending Trevor Lawrence's pro day.
Do you go from 6 to 1? Now, if you're the Jags, there's
and then all of a sudden we love Howie Roseman again. He
No.
gets you from 6 to 1, and he takes Trevor Lawrence. Roseman is
Stop with that. Stop with that. The Jags are no way, shape, or form going to move on from that number 1 overall pick of Trevor Lawrence. No shot.
I would agree.
No shot.
I would agree, but the Eagles are doing their due diligence.
All right. Does that make you feel any different?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No, but there's so much here. And by the way, you guys can be a part of the show if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Go to our website, 973ESPN.com. Chris Gilbert is watching on Facebook. He says, if they trade Wentz and get draft picks and start Hurts, you're 2 to 3 years out from making a run, honestly. See, I think the offensive line, and we watched that game last night and saw how much that line was a problem for the Chiefs. It ruined the whole game. It ruined the whole game. It took the enjoyment out of that game last night because their line was so bad. And now I hope all the people out there can see that, yeah, maybe it wasn't all Wentz, and maybe it wasn't all Doug, and maybe this team wasn't all that bad. Maybe their offensive line being hurt was a big reason why they won 4 games this year.
But then would you criticize Howie for making Howie and Laurie together making these decisions then to blow up everything if it was just an offensive line not getting healthy problem?
Sure. I mean, if in the end, now it's going to, how do we?
Right. We will never know.
Right.
We will never know.
All right. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. We got a busy show for you today. Most of it is you, me, and Brodes, and everybody out there. It's brought to you by AmeriSave Mortgage. Lower mortgage rates means more savings. Find out more at amerisave.com. All right. We're going to play more of that Kelsey stuff throughout the show. It was 3 years ago today. Man, how time flies and how far we've fallen. All right, back with more Sports Bash. Paul Hudrick inside the Sixers. Big night over the Nets, but I don't know. How do you feel about that win over the Nets when the Nets were missing a bunch? Jeff Mosher's Football at 4. Don't go away. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app, and watch the show live at 973ESPN.com.
Turn it on. Leave it on. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
This month, let me offer you some presidential advice. Leave your dollar in your wallet when you get 0% APR financing from Matt Black Kia.
Matt Black Kia wants to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve. 0% APR financing available for up to 60 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage, K5, and Forte models. Or take $4,000 off MSRP on new 2020 Kia Niros in stock. Plus Matt Black Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 and 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 borrowed. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details. Expires 3/4/2021. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smokers Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smokers Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Changing your oil. We've got what you need. Regular changes are the best way to keep your engine running smooth. We'll help you find the right oil for your make and model and everything to help you finish the job right, like drain pans, filters, and funnels. And we've got more ways to get it all fast. like our next day delivery and our free same-day pickup, in-store or curbside. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Hello, Cape May County. This is County Commissioner Len Desiderio, co-chair of the County Recovery Task Force. We know that there are a lot of questions about the COVID vaccination. Please go to capemaycountynj.gov for information and to register in the state system. The beginning of this effort has been very challenging as we wait for the federal and state governments to implement distribution. But we already lead the state in vaccine administration, and we are ready to expand our efforts as soon as the state distributes larger amounts of vaccine to us. Please go to capemaycountynj.gov and click to register and check back often for more information. You will then be notified by the state when your turn comes about how to schedule your appointment. Go to capemaycountynj.gov and register now. Please go to capemaycountynj.gov for information and to register in the state system. Let's vaccinate safely together.
Good morning, privates! Good morning, Drill Sergeant! I mean, seriously, what a pleasant morning. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping. You seem to be in a good mood today. Astute observation.
He's probably happy because he found out Honey Nut Cheerios can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
They're even shaped like hearts. So, in lieu of the obstacle course today, I propose a nice meditative nature walk. Does that sound delightful to everyone?
Yes, Drill Sergeant! Happy Heart Shapes are back for a limited time. Learn more about Honey Nut Cheerios by picking up a box at your local store.
Hey, bro. I don't think I can help you move Saturday. My back is really bugging me. I just don't think I can handle it. Sorry.
Hey, dude, it's John. I know I told you I'd be able to help you move. I think Michelle's really mad at me for something. What's that, honey? Oh, dude, I gotta go. Sorry, man.
Call Clark's Moving and Storage in South Jersey for your next local or long-distance move. Clark's, dependable and always shows up. Call 609-889-0780.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 973ESPN.com.
All right, Mike and Brodes, Sports Bash. Watch the show live on our website, 973ESPN.com. A lot of texts, a lot of post comments from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll post them up on the screen for you throughout the show because we're going to get a lot of good conversation. I would imagine this is going to be a very interesting day. Carson Wentz could be traded at any moment, Brodes. And, all right, is your money on he will be traded today?
No, I don't
think so.
I do not think it'll be today.
Okay. Well, the latest on Carson Wentz, Adam Schefter reports the Eagles are expected to trade Wentz in the coming days. That's from Saturday. So that's really the most recent notable news we have on all of this stuff in terms of where he could go. It sounds like Chicago and Indianapolis are the two. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be today or tomorrow. I would imagine it's going to be today or tomorrow. I don't know which one, but
I just want it to be over with. I'll be honest. Like I have the fatigue of the Wentz story. It's been drilled in our brain since a couple weeks into the season where things started off slow. It's been a long time of this Wentz stuff, and I'm just kind of tired by it. Are you, or are you just, I don't know. I feel there is a Wentz fatigue. We talked about a LeBron fatigue, a Tom Brady fatigue. I have a Wentz fatigue.
I don't so much have a Wentz fatigue because we didn't really, it was like, oh, they might trade him, but it was like, you didn't really think they were going to trade him because we kept hearing, well, the contract, the dead money, the cap hit, like it sounded like fans were talking fantasy football. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, they're going to trade him. Like that was just on Saturday. Like when I saw that on Saturday, I was like, wow.
Was that the first moment for that, though? Because I thought we've somewhat established it was inevitable.
They were taking calls. But Saturday it's happening. They were taking calls. It's like, okay, they're putting their toe in the water. And at that point, you're like, all right. Saturday was like, they're moving them.
I think taking calls. I feel a lot of this is NovaCare and people inside sending messages.
But even the taking calls only started sometime in the middle of last week. It wasn't like this happened 4 weeks ago and we've been hearing for 4 weeks. Well, they're taking calls. They want to trade them. It was quite the contrary. It was they don't want to trade them. They want to see if they can fix them. Then they hired Sirianni, and the message was, well, they brought this guy Sirianni in because he wants to work with Wentz.
We probably should have dove deeper into the Sirianni pressure when he wasn't telling us any information. Instead of saying, well, that's obvious, that's common knowledge. Of course he wasn't going to tell you who was going to be the starter. But if it was going to be Wentz, don't you think he would have went out there and said, it's Wentz. Wentz is our guy. But because they were tiptoeing around it so much, maybe we should have saw that this was coming.
Rob Motti, who we're going to have on the show tomorrow, he is flying home from the Super Bowl. He tweeted this to kind of like marinate for people at 2:18 today. Howie Roseman is not stupid. He will ask for as much as possible in any trade. He is smart enough to try to package bad contracts. He knows how to play the media to drive the market. I'm about to board a plane and doubt the Eagles make a deal before I land in Philly. So he's essentially saying, look, Roseman's not dumb. He's playing this the right way. And I've seen a couple people say he has played this really well with how he has driven up the prices and worked two sides. He might only have two teams in play, but there's been a lot of people that I've talked to that feel that Roseman has really done a good job in giving the Eagles a market they maybe didn't have.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. See, I do lean in your direction of these fans and the people in this area tend to blame him way more and give him not enough credit for the things that he does do well. He might not be great at drafting over the last handful of years like we want him to be, but it's not like he's bad at every single aspect of the GM. There's more to it than just draft picks. There's so much involved with that job, and to act as if he does nothing right, well, that's a little ridiculous. So I'm not shocked that he's playing this in a strong way to get good compensation. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, the one big thing with, like, we pick and choose when we want to blame Roseman. We don't want to give him credit for things he deserves credit for. We pick and choose what draft picks that we think he had, which ones he didn't. It's such a mess in trying to evaluate his success and failures. The one things that I know that he did do that helped this team win a Super Bowl that people conveniently want to leave out. He drafted Lane Johnson. That was a big factor. He traded for Brandon Brooks. That was an under-the-radar trade. They got Brandon Brooks. He turns out to be the best right guard in football. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody says, hey, that's a really good job evaluating talent and basically getting him for nothing.
Well, I think it's the recent times. After the Super Bowl, there's been a culture change organizationally that made this thing.
Sure.
Like the way that we are, there's no way to look at this front office now and not criticize them. I think all the criticism is very fair. Do people take it to an extreme? Yes, but I think everyone deserves to get ripped for us at this point having Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts as your pieces, considering what we did have. So they do deserve blame all the way up top for this, and a good amount of blame.
They missed on a second-round pick. They are not exact scientists. If we want to blast them to the high heavens because they picked J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the second round over a guy that every other team in the league passed on to.
It's bigger picture, though. It's not just like you can always point out, well, they got Sanders, well, they got Goddard, but just bigger picture since 2017. The reason why they're in this mess with the roster is because they have failed too much drafting players.
I guess, yeah. I'm not saying that they've done a really good job in the draft. I think that we, again, think that other teams hit on like 80% of their picks, and the Eagles are down here just constantly missing. That's just not the case. Like, the Eagles have done a good job. They did a good job in 16. They did a good job in 18. They didn't do a good job in 17. They didn't do a good job in 19. We don't know about this 20 draft yet, but I feel like we just say they did a horrible job in one draft, and then that is every draft is bad. Well, no, they got good players in each of the drafts. The problem is they missed maybe on, like, we don't like Derek Barnett, right? We're not a big fan of Derek Barnett. I don't know. They traded to 14. They didn't have a very good draft pick. They moved up to 14 to get Barnett. Was there another player in that draft that we're kicking ourselves that they didn't end up with? I don't remember off the top of my head. But I don't like the Derek Barnett trade or decision. So, yeah, I would say that was not a very good pick. But in the, there's other times where we were like, well, Joe Douglas was the reason. Well, then Joe Douglas was part of the problem during all these drafts, right?
Yeah, I think that's fine to say, though. But I
so
think,
is it? Here's what I want to know then from the people, and like, is it we think Howie Roseman doesn't do a good job, or that we think that the people in that building don't like him? that's the problem, that they simply do not like him.
I think it's both.
Because the guy built a Super Bowl winner. They very rarely have losing seasons. We counted 2 back-to-back losing seasons. They're constantly a winning franchise in the Roseman era. So is it simply we don't like him as a human being? We don't like his name. We don't like what he looks like. We don't like the way he talks.
Yeah, but the Howie Roseman era is flawed because of Andy Reid. I think like all that stuff, like Andy Reid's tenure was carried more by Andy Reid than it was Howie Roseman.
I'm talking about from when he was the GM.
Okay, so after the Chip Kelly era?
Well, he got named, he was the GM.
Like the year
we
before.
talked about this before, that one little, there was an article today that talked about there was a misconception of Roseman that when he was the GM during the Reid era, Reid was kind of handling the draft, except for towards the end when they turned it kind of over to Roseman, but there was a lot of gray areas there. And those years where the gray areas came in was when the team started to draft better, like they drafted Fletcher Cox. Some people think that that was an Andy Reid pick. A lot of people say not really. That was a Howie Roseman pick. I don't know. I don't know how to judge that. But my answer would be Jeff Lurie has to know better than we do. And he must say, look, I know what you guys don't know. And I'm looking at his draft board and Andy's draft board. And I remember Jeff Lurie saying it. Roseman's draft board has been better than Andy's draft board. So we're going to Roseman. And that happened somewhere around 2011, 2012. And the team started to draft a little bit better. And they started to draft the players that built the foundation for this Super Bowl team. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, guys like that. He's made a lot of trades. People just want to go after the draft. But they don't realize that a lot of the trades they've made, because trades in the NFL, it's not like baseball or basketball. Trades don't get looked at all that much.
Yeah, but when you're in cap hell, you got to hit on these younger guys because they don't get paid a lot. When you start making these trades and all, you'd be lucky to get someone on a younger, like really small contract.
Sure, absolutely. They built that team. Now, look what the Buccaneers did. This isn't a team that you... Well, I'm just saying, like...
Yeah, Tom Brady.
But they bought Tom Brady, Gronk, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette. I mean, they just went out and spent.
Yeah, but without Tom Brady, you're not even
absolutely.
Yeah, Tom Brady's.
There's no question about it. But my point is, Jason Light, who's an Eagles guy, by the way, I don't know. Would you say that guy's a great GM?
No, that's
he just
Tom
built
Brady.
a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, but that's Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. I mean, Bruce Arians even took a step back and said, "I'm going to let this guy do whatever he wants out there and run the offense."
Right.
I mean, this is literally something that can't be duplicated and can't really be. You can't compare to that because it's just so unique and so out there, and it's just not something that you can really relate to. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying in
my
general.
point is, and maybe this is a hit against Roseman, is just building a Super Bowl team. There's different ways to do it. I think we only feel that drafting guys is the only way to do it. Like, if you don't draft young guys and you don't keep doing that, and I think we've seen a couple examples of other teams are not building through the draft. They've gone out in free agency.
You got to find a mix.
You got to find the right mix, correct. And that's where it's like, because I feel like because the fans hate Roseman so much that the mix isn't there. He just stinks. He doesn't do anything good. He hasn't helped this team. He hasn't done anything right. And it's like, the guy just built a Super Bowl team 3 years ago. He has to be given credit. So, and then they would say, that's Joe Douglas.
Well, no. Yeah,
and if it's Joe Douglas, then we got to blame Joe Douglas for the bad drafting. If you're giving him credit for building the roster to win a Super Bowl, you would then also have to give him the criticism for the bad draft picks. And that's why I have this I don't know where to say all of this goes to him and him and him. They have done a really good job of deflecting it. The fans don't see it that way. They're only good because of Joe Douglas. Well, the draft was horrible during Joe Douglas's tenure. Well, then where does he fit in on that? I don't know. How much blame does people out there give Joe Douglas for this team's bad drafting?
I feel he's out of sight, out of mind at this point, to be honest with you. Just because he's not around anymore, you don't really hear his name brought up too much because people are more focused on, as you mentioned, 2017, bad draft, 2019, bad draft. And with right now, with where you're at in cap hell, you needed to hit on those players because that's kind of what balances everything. You'll have that younger core and those cheaper contracts. So if 17 and 19 were brutal, and right now 2020 is up in the air, although the Rager-Jefferson thing's not looking fantastic, and that's a big one, you put yourself in hell right now, and that's why people are voicing their frustration towards Howie, because the recent Howie Roseman, the last three, after the Super Bowl, it's been a tough go in the drafting department.
We can look back at that and say, yeah, I mean, they drafted this year. It's kind of hard.
It is.
But
This
a lot
year
of
you
people
can't really.
would have rather had Justin Jefferson, right?
Yep, I would agree.
No question about that. And everybody else in this draft really didn't help. Jalen Hurts could be the starting quarterback.
Davion Taylor, you don't even know if he's got. We're talking about drafting a linebacker with your 6th overall pick. You know, not saying Davion Taylor can't play, but I'm just saying, like, you took a project guy that's going to take 3 years to play if he ever even does play. What were they thinking there? They just seem to be all over the place.
Now, according to this, I'm reading an article that broke down all of Roseman's picks since 2010, giving him credit for 74 draft picks. 37 can be considered hits, and 35 misses. 2 are unclear. So he's basically.
Well, how about the Pro Bowl one? Because I know the Pro Bowl stinks and it really doesn't tell you much, but the fact that he only has 1 Pro Bowler, and that's Carson Wentz, is pretty brutal.
Yeah. Well, Lane Johnson would be a Pro Bowler. So that's whoever comes up with that stat's incorrect.
Okay.
Lane Johnson's been a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro.
Well, maybe they're just not giving him credit for that draft.
He has to have credit for that. That was the first year of Chip Kelly. That's one of the few draft picks that I almost know is his.
Well, I'm just saying.
Zach Ertz is also one of his.
That is a very, very common thing that gets thrown around, that he has 1 Pro Bowl draft pick.
Well, that's not accurate. Zach Ertz is also one of his draft picks.
Yeah, I'm not just throwing this out there. Do we know that?
Well, Zach Ertz was drafted in the same class as Lane Johnson. It was Johnson in round 1, Ertz in round 2. That was the first year Chip Kelly was here. Who else would have made those picks?
I don't know.
It wasn't Kelly. His first year it was that he was here. Roseman was the one running everything. That was when he got. And then the next year after that was when Kelly took over. And then you drafted Marcus Smith. That was a mess.
Brutal.
What? But that's part of the problem is,
you don't know. We don't know
Roseman
exactly what
gets
happened.
blamed for a pick like Marcus Smith.
No, I don't think anyone blames him for Marcus
Well, he was
Smith.
the GM of the team. He was, quote unquote, the GM. But that was when Kelly and him got into that blow up, and they said, but the year that Kelly was hired.
Oh, so we're getting people texting into the thing. Since 2016 is the stat that everyone brings up. I know it was flying around everywhere. So since 2016, he's only drafted 1 Pro Bowler, and it was Carson Wentz.
So this says he has 37 hits, 35 misses, 2 unclear. He's hit on 51%, a much more impressive number than it seems considering how hard it is to draft. In the first 2 rounds where the pressure is really hard to find talent, Roseman has hit on 66% of his picks. And that number, when you include the 3rd round, moves up to 69%.
But what's classified as a hit? Because you might hit on a guy, but you missed on someone right behind him who is 30 times better than him.
Fair question.
You know, like Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson. Reagor could be a hit, but Justin Jefferson is an elite wide receiver. Like, how do you really balance that?
Yeah. I think, though, if you had the same conversation in Tennessee and in Seattle and in Cleveland and in San Diego or L.A., I think you would say, they hit on 60, they missed on 40, or they hit on 55, they missed on, like, people act like there's teams out there hitting on 80% of their draft choices. I think what we have to understand is, in this situation, where the Eagles are in a trade situation, they have a guy right now that has done a pretty good job in making trades. So let's at least have that under our belt right now, right? Is that Roseman has done a good job when it comes to trade. Brought to you by East Coast Roofing, Siding, Windows, serving all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Visit them online at eastcoastroofing.com. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, watch the show live on our website, 97.3 ESPN.com.
97.3 ESPN presents high school basketball.
High school basketball coverage continues tonight on 97.3 ESPN. This is Tom Williams. George McNally and I will be in the Dixie Howe Gym tonight when Atlantic City does battle with Ocean City. how will Gene Allen's tough defense deal with the Raiders' Gannon Brady, the Cape Atlantic League's leading scorer? It's a Calvi Electric Game of the Week, produced by Prime Events, Atlantic City at Ocean City, tonight at 6 on 97.3 ESPN.
Kendall Auto Plaza offers the area's best car and truck buying experience with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. What's on their 100-acre lot? A huge inventory of Ford, Lincoln, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and over 100 quality and certified pre-owned vehicles. Whether you use your car, truck, or SUV for work or play, discover why Kendall customers are so loyal. Kendall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard, or shop from home at KendallAutoplaza.com.
When you want experience, go for the best. Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence.
Right now, Dennisville Fence is installing your neighbor's new fence. Right now, another neighbor is signing up for their new fence job. Right now is the best time to get started on your new fence or railing project, because right now, the pandemic is causing major supply chain delays. What used to take days can now take weeks or months. So the earlier you start on your new fence or railing project, the more likely you'll finish your project on time, and the sooner you'll enjoy more privacy, safety, security, and style. Don't delay your new fence or railing project. Get started today. Dennisville Fence is open, and we are now scheduling new estimates for spring installations and also offering material sales for DIY and new construction projects.
Go with experience, go for the best. Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence. 1-800-499-FENCE. Visit DennisvilleFence.com.
Hey, Matthew, we need to restock those sleeping bags.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
One of you cover this register?
Like at Anita's outdoor store. To keep sales climbing, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm Harvey from Bernie Robbins Jewelers. Love makes one do crazy things. Take me. I'm having a 50% off sale, a crazy Cupid 50% off Valentine's sale with interest-free financing, something we haven't done in years, featuring great Valentine's gifts and engagement diamonds at 50% off with interest-free financing. Shop BernieRobbins.com or go crazy the old-fashioned way and visit one of our stores. The 50% off Crazy Cupid sale ends February 13th. Why the 13th? If you haven't done it by then, I can't help you.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's a new year and an all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot. Help us celebrate when you get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan. 2020 Nissan Kicks. $4,000 off MSRP on in-stock units, or get 0% APR financing for 60 months on new in-stock Nissan Kicks, Sentra, or Altima models. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan has fast-track checkout available online at mattblattnissan.com. Our non-touch delivery and electronic paperwork ensures your safety comes first. We want to help with your credit approval today so you can drive a new Nissan with 0% APR financing. Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township or online at mattblattnissan.com. Unapproved credit. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. All factory rebates and incentives to dealer. 0% APR financing based on 15/16 for 1,000 borrowed. Offers can't be combined. Call 888-731-5030 for all the details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
2:53 on the Sports Bash. You're watching the show live on our website, 973ESPN.com. We appreciate you. We'll pop up some of the comments that we're getting on this conversation. It looks like Carson Wentz is going to get traded. That we believe will happen either today or tomorrow by the time the show ends. So we'll see. I mean, Jordan says, I think Howie isn't the biggest problem. Whoa! I mean, that's a first, right? Is that a first?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it is a first.
That somebody said I don't think he's the biggest problem. My issue with Roseman is extending these veterans and bringing back Jason Peters constantly. See, I think Roseman and Lori brought this up, and so did Roseman. Brodes. And I want to get your opinion on this. If you're the GM and you win the Super Bowl and the owner kind of gives you the okay to go for it again, and if going for it again means I'm going to extend some of the guys that I won the Super Bowl with, you have a problem with that?
It's hard in hindsight, now that like there's recency bias and all, but you put yourself in that position, it's kind of hard to not think, let's go for it again.
Right.
I think they maybe tried that too long, though.
Because they said in 18 and 19, they felt they had a window. And part of the reason they thought they had a window is why? Number 11.
Yeah.
You have Carson Wentz. But when you draft Carson Wentz and he's in the prime years, you got to take your shot every single time.
But prime years now is almost, now because quarterbacks play until their mid-40s, it seems, you could argue that 33 is your prime.
Right, but you have a guy who was 13-3, he was going to win the MVP, and then all of a sudden you have 18, you go, after he's coming off that year, you go for it again. And then he looks like, maybe he wasn't all the way back, but that's going to be 2 years removed from that injury. You got to go for it again. And I think that's what the Eagles did. And unfortunately, they made a couple of knee-jerk decisions that they would not normally have made. And Joe Banner talked about this on Inside the Birds, that they made a lot of decisions that was not in their character. Guy like Jeffrey extending.
But they deserve blame for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm not sure that if the owner said, look, you do what you got to do to keep this thing going. You know what I mean? I think hey, who was it that said they never saw a party like that party when the Eagles won the Super Bowl? There was something about that. All right, when we come back, more on the Wentz possibility of being traded. Stick around.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons with a quick move down the lane and a left-hand jam. So Simmons very aggressive early on.
The Sixers are in Sacramento to face the King tomorrow. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
It's a new year with new savings at Rossi Honda. First time ever, 0% APR, up to 60 months on HRV, CRV, Pilot, and Passport. With free oil changes, free tire protection, up to 5 years and 60,000 miles. And now, free interest, only at Rossi Honda. Shop us 24/7 at RossiHonda.com. We treat you better, period, on Delsey Drive in Vineland.
See dealer for details.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so they're best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own. East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Hi, I'm Larry Styler. And I'm Sean Styler. We'd like to remind you that East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows is a professional business open year-round and has been serving South Jersey since 1979. It seems, however, that many of you feel sorry for us in the cold and hold off calling until spring, along with everyone else. The truth is, we and our families eat as much in the winter as we do in the summer. So call us now while prices and wait times are at their lowest and learn how great financing plans can help you. And please don't feel bad. We have Long Johns and we'll wear them. So call 646-1444 or visit us online at eastcoastroofing.com. If you'll call, we'll show up.
East Coast Roofing and Siding. Trust us with your family and home.
Hey, sports bettors, it's Mike Gill, and I wanted to share with you how I've been cashing in on the PropSwap Sports Bets resale app. On average, sellers on PropSwap have been making $500 a month. It's easy. Just post all your betting tickets for sale on PropSwap and let them find you a buyer. Listing your ticket is always free, and if it sells, great. But if not, the bet is still yours to keep. If you're not selling sports bets on PropSwap, you're missing out on incredible side hustle. Start making extra money today by downloading the PropSwap app and selling your sports bets.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. But maybe you're unaware of new tools that can help your business stand out. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too. There's no cost and no obligation. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Get started today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
Hey, Matthew, we need to restock those sleeping bags.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
One of you cover this register?
Like at Anita's outdoor store. To keep sales climbing, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for the perfect gift for your sweetheart this Valentine's Day? Why not treat your sweetie to a gift card from Dr. Lyle and Back's Cosmetic Surgery Center of Cherry Hill? Gift cards can be used for anything from skincare products or services to surgery and everything in between. Hydrofacials, microneedling, skin rejuvenation, Botox, facial fillers like Juvederm, Radius, and Bellafill, liposuction, breast augmentation, and more. And Dr. Back's gift cards never expire. Call or stop in to get your Valentine's Day gift card. Call 856-MAKEOVER or visit ilovelylback.com.
This is South Jersey's radio home for the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers. WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
All right, hour two of the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. Hunter Brody, what's going on? It's a Monday edition, Super Bowl last night. What you think of the game last night? It was a snore. I can't even get excited about talking about this other than, what I took from that game last night is their offensive line was such a mess, and it makes me feel like it's a legitimate problem that the Eagles had was injuries across their offensive line.
Todd Bowles was a fun storyline. I mean, he dominated. As much as the O-line played a huge role, I thought Todd Bowles really outmatched Andy Reid. And I get it because the offensive line is a huge problem. But Todd Bowles
It was not a fair fight.
But Todd Bowles
Their line was so bad.
Yeah, but those guys, you normally see Tyreek Hill get open. There was time for these receivers to get open sometimes, and it just didn't happen.
Dude, did you see the stat that Mahomes ran 496 yards last night for his life?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, he just could not get time. And look, there were times he threw passes.
Todd Bowles?
No, I thought Bowles, he took advantage of a situation. They had a banged up offensive line. And again, I think it's no against Bowles. They said their line's a mess. Let's go after them. And I give him credit for that.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of Orlovsky and people who are on ESPN on Get Up this morning, just really breaking down what he did with JPP and what they were doing with Shaq Barrett, just to, throw different looks at them and throwing some safeties up high and really suffocating Tyreek Hill. And you're right, you were able to do that knowing that you can definitely take advantage of that matchup. But I really liked watching really how they changed things from their first matchup. They did a little before and after from the game earlier in the season compared to different looks that Todd Bowles threw their way. And it just looked like that Travis Kelce. And even when they did get a chance to make a play, they dropped it or it hit them in their face.
Yeah, how many times did somebody get hit in the face?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill did on the one play. And how about that throw of Mahomes when he was parallel to the ground?
Yeah, there was a lot of throws that he made from just running around and somehow figuring out a way to throw something. Look, I thought the Bucs defense almost could have been universally you could have said the MVP of the game was their entire defense.
Yeah, some would say you look at the way White played and like these linebackers as a whole. Do you now try and copycat that? You're maybe bringing back this versatility linebacker. We've already discussed how the new era of the defense is somewhat bringing back a different style of linebacker, but linebackers are starting to become more important again. I just wonder if you watched someone play last night like you did with White, does that change perspectives on what you want to do with the linebacker position?
I will never know. This is from somebody watching on YouTube. I will never know why Howie Roseman felt the need to give Wentz a huge contract extension with 2 years left on his deal. Shake my head.
That's an organizational decision when it's that type of money. Although I think it's fair to I know we make fun of Dak Prescott, the Cowboys, they're not committing to his guy, but you can make the argument that, look, the Eagles screwed up by doing it. Whether it was the right thing to do at the time and you believed it or not, at the end of the day, it backfired, right? So,
yeah, I mean, the Eagles, what they wanted to do was, and they do this a lot, they've done this a lot during the Roseman era. They did it with Joe Banner, too, is they targeted a player to go for an extension who was outperforming their contract. They would go after him early and sign him for below market value so that by the time that player was, say, an all-pro or a Pro Bowler, you now would say, see, we're paying him less than what he's really worth. It backfired on them. I don't want to say it backfired, but they did this a lot during the Andy Reid era. And they would sign a guy like Brian Westbrook, and Westbrook would get the contract, and 2 years into the deal, he would be like, I outperformed this contract. And they'd be like, sorry, you signed the deal before you became Ryan Westbrook. And they did that with a lot of players, and it worked for them because what it did was it kept their salary cap down. So people are talking about, well, he's done a bad job with the salary cap. You're not doing a bad job with the salary cap if your quarterback is playing at the level that he belongs. You know what I'm saying? So they might have had problems like this year coming up. He'll figure out a way to get them out of that. It doesn't hurt you as bad if your quarterback's playing well, but that quarterback salary 2 years from now will prevent the salary from being a problem. You know what I mean?
No, it makes sense. But I brought this up with Adam Kaplan. We had him on Football 4 at the end of last week. And I brought up Alshon Jeffrey, Malik Jackson, and Sport Track actually tweeted this out over the weekend. If the Eagles trade Wentz, trade release Zach Ertz, and then post June 1st, Alshon and Malik Jackson, they'll be taking up $49 million in dead cap, which is over 26% of the projected $185 million league salary caps. That's almost 26% of the guys on dead cap money. And you're going to figure it out because you're forced to. You have to, but it's a lot of money. And that's why I think it's more of a 2-year thing than a 1-year thing, but I don't think it's a 5-year process at the same time.
Well, who are those names again?
It's Wentz, Ertz, Alshon, Malik Jackson.
None of those guys really helped you at all this year.
I understand it, but that still hurts. It's not about what they did. It's more so what you now lose because $49 million is on their books.
I'm saying, but like the fact that they just have to, it's not like there's nobody on that list that you say, this guy was productive, and because you're in such cap problems, you just have to cut a guy just to do it to help you. Like, if you said all 5 of those guys weren't here, you'd say, well, none of them did anything. Malik Jackson was probably the best
good
player
rotation guy
this year.
And Ertz, Ertz is still a good player. He just had a down year.
I'd say this year, that none of those 5 guys really helped you.
Right, but
sadly,
it hurts.
Including Wentz.
Yeah, it hurts that $49 million, though, is now suffocated on these players that are no longer even going to be on the team. So how does that limit you from what you want to do down the road or in free agency? I mean, that's the problem. That's why I don't think it'll just be an instant bounce back next year. I think it's after next year where we can be a little bit more optimistic.
Well, I think a lot of it depends. What do they get back for Wentz? That's number one. Do they get a draft pick back? A first-round pick? Let's say it's the Bears pick number 20. Well, now you have 20 and you have 6. You have the opportunity, and I can just hear people out there saying, well, if Roseman's making the pick, they're not going to hit on either one of them. I don't think that way. They have hit on first-round picks. They've missed on first-round picks. You're not going to hit on every single one. I am well aware of that. I don't hold anyone to a standard that they have to hit on every single pick. There are busts. It happens. Every team drafts busts. The Eagles do it. The Buccaneers do it. The Chiefs do it. We just talked about this Chiefs team has 4 first-round picks on their entire roster.
But that's because they hit everywhere else. We went through their list. They didn't have it because they went up to make trades, but they were hitting and all. They get Harvey.
No.
They
I'm
get all
just
these
talking
players.
about people who say the fact that the Eagles would have 2 first-round picks. Who cares? They miss on them all the time, and that's just not accurate, right? That's just not accurate. My point is, nobody hits on every first-round pick they have. If you hit on 50% of your first-round picks, you're probably doing pretty well. If you hit on 60 or 70%, man, you're probably a Hall of Fame level GM. I don't know too many. We went through the list. We couldn't find too many that hit on 60, 70% of first-round picks. But them getting 2 first-round picks potentially, let's say they get number 20 and they get number 6. Well, that can open up a whole heck of a lot of things. You can trade 6 back, get more picks. You can trade 20 up and get a better player. You could trade 20 and 6 and maybe move all the way up to number 1 if that's something that tickles your fancy. You know what I mean? So there's a whole lot of things they could do. I continue to say, and I feel like I've been the one person on this, and I'm going to remain on this. Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Mylotter, Dillard, Sayamala, having those 4 guys, and I don't know what Kelsey's deal is, so I'm not really going to include him. But having those 4 guys on my offensive line, I feel way more equipped to win football games with those guys playing offensive line than the 5 guys I had last year.
Let me ask you this. What would it take for you to maybe say, let's try a new GM? What if they whiff on 6 and 20 and they don't get a...
Let me ask you a question, and everybody out there. Give me a GM that you want.
I don't have the answer for you. I'm not screaming for him to get fired, to be fair. I'm just asking
Who is a GM in this league that people think...
I'd rather have John Dorsey.
That guy does a really good job.
I think I'd rather take... Like, if you ask me with John Dorsey and what he did with the Chiefs and what he did with the Browns, I think I'd feel more comfortable. Now, I'm not saying that automatically means that it would be the better pick, but to change something up, to get a new philosophy, to see his track record of success, I wouldn't be opposed to a John Dorsey.
Here's the big problem I have with getting rid of Roseman. Okay, and somebody just said Louis Riddick. Louis Riddick hasn't had a job. He's interviewed over and over and over.
Yeah, that's the Mark Jackson, Stan Van Gundy pick, where you just want someone who's
because he's on TV, right? You hear him on TV. He speaks very well. He's very intelligent. He's a good-looking guy, by the way. We like him. That's why. Roseman is the exact opposite. You don't like the way he talks. You don't like what he looks like. You don't like how he sounds. He didn't play football. Therefore, we don't like him. Louis Riddick's a good-looking guy. You like how he talks. You like how he sounds. Therefore, he has to be better than Roseman. Doesn't work that way. Here's the big concern I have with if you get rid of Roseman. I understand he has made picks that have people scratching their head. I feel like I've done enough research around this league. That happens. It just happens. Like, people don't. Who's the best GM in the league? Can anybody tell me that?
Howie Roseman.
How many people?
Tom Brady.
Who is the best GM in football?
It's hard because when you look at the success, you go by success, right? That's what people do. So most people would say Bill Belichick. Seriously, though.
Well, yeah. You're not going to say the best GM in any sport is the guy who has the worst team. The best GM becomes the best because he has built the best. He's built the best team.
I think people would say probably a Bill Belichick and Andy Reid, because those are the guys. I know they're not technically GMs, but those are the guys making those picks, making the personnel decisions.
Right. They're also the only 2 coaches in the league that have that power.
Right.
That are the coach and the GM. But, okay, in Pittsburgh, that's a team that's similar to the Eagles, where they're always a winning team. They always seem to make the playoffs. The Saints are a team that always seems to make the playoffs in at least the last, 15 years. Mickey Loomis has been there the whole time. I don't know that anybody thinks Mickey Loomis is the best GM in the league. He's very Roseman-like. He's one of them guys, not a football guy, blah, 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 blah. The concern I have is I think Roseman in the league, not by the fans, is so well regarded with the things that he does well that you're just saying, I don't think he drafts well, therefore I want him gone. And all of those other things that he does well that I think we just kind of take for granted here, that other teams have a big problem with. A lot of teams are constantly in cap problems. Other teams constantly lose the trade battles. They don't get good value back in return. He seems to win the trades all the time. For God's sake, there was a time where you people out there gave him his own season.
They did do that.
It was Howie's season. You guys gave that season to him. He didn't make it up. You did. So all of a sudden now everybody's turned on him. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, that's why I would like him to still be like if my dream scenario came about. I think based off of, because as you say, we don't really know who's making the picks. Who is it? We don't know. There's so much smoke behind it where it's confusing. So to see what the situation, to see what the situation is, I wouldn't mind if Howie Roseman operated with the financial stuff, and then you get a new talent evaluator and you try down that road to see if it's him, if it's Worry influencing Howie Roseman, if this guy has all the power to make just the talent evaluation picks, then we'll see what he's like. I would want Howie to still be involved with the Eagles. I don't want to just get rid of the guy just because he does do so many other things well that doesn't get a lot of credit. And I would like to see if we can spice up the drafting a bit. I think that is something to look at. So that would be my dream scenario.
No problem with then bringing someone in to help out with the draft. Now, from what I understand, they did that. That was Joe Douglas. And those drafts were the worst.
Well, I don't know if the problem is they keep bringing in these guys, but at the end of the day, everyone I talked to said it was still Roseman who got to make that final pick. So they do bring in guys to help with the talent evaluation, but Howie's still making the pick. So did they influence Howie to make a certain pick? Did Howie not listen to what those guys said? And once again, that's what it comes back to. There's so much smoke. No one really knows, but Howie having the pick.
I know we don't like these lists. We don't care about any of these lists. This was the 2020 GM rankings from the best and worst decision makers of the league. These were voted on by the executives in the league. All right. Just to give you a name of the best GM, was voted as John Lynch. Okay. They went to the Super Bowl. Number 2 was Brett Veach of the Chiefs, which is kind of Andy Reid. They kind of go hand in hand. Eric DeCostra, Ravens. It's a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl. What was that, 2006?
No.
You're going back a while.
Yeah, 2006 or so.
Now he took over for Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, number 4. Mickey Loomis of the Saints, number 5. John Robinson of the Titans, number 6. Howie Roseman, Eagles, number 7. Ahead of Kevin Colbert of the Steelers. Ahead of Brandon Beane from the Bills. John Schneider of the Seahawks. So Chris Ballard of the Colts.
Doesn't mean there's much separation, though. It could just mean they're kind of in the same pack.
I get that, but my point is he's in the top 10 by his peers. Again, like this is going on multiple years. So you're giving a guy, we are blaming a guy who is regarded by his peers as a top 10 guy in the league. So my point is you give that up, you're bringing a guy in who you're hoping is better than one of the top 10 guys in the league right now. I know we're so close to it and we don't, you know what I mean? Like we don't like him because we're so close to it, but in league circles, they think that we're wrong.
But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily right. Like, I do think at some point you lose some touch. So, like, at some point, it's okay to move on from – Andy Reid was a hell of a coach, but at some point, it was okay and it was reasonable to move on. I'm not saying that that's automatically the case here with Howie, but it's okay to get something fresh involved. And
I agree with that 100%.
Maybe
I'm
that's
trying
what
to tell the people out there
stick.
that your view is not the view of what people in this league think.
That's fair.
They do not think that his role as GM is the Eagles' biggest issue. They might think him as a person. I think that's the bigger issue, is that maybe players just personally don't like him. Just like as a human being. Like, I don't like you. You rub me the wrong way. That's different from you don't know how to do your job.
Right.
Sports Bash is brought to you by Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. Black Horse Bike, EHT. When we come back, we're going to shift gears to the Sixers for a little bit here. They had a win over the Nets, but did it really tell us anything? Takeaways from that game with Paul Hudrick coming up at 3:20.
We never stop talking Eagles and NFL. It's football at 4, every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
On some models excludes Corvette. With GMF financing. Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
It's President's Day all month long at Bennett Chevrolet with our biggest, boldest, best deals ever. Saving you up to 25% off MSRP on brand new vehicles. Right now, Bennett Chevy is selling brand new vehicles at GM supplier employee pricing. Plus, you keep all the rebates that can save you as much as 25% off MSRP. But there's even more ways to save with 0% financing available. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett will pay you a minimum $7,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's a minimum $7,000 for your trade, no matter its condition. Imagine how much more you'll get for a good trade. And once you've dealt with our non-commissioned sales team, you'll rave about the wonderful experience with no need to negotiate and no hassles, because our team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. It's President's Day all this month at Bennett. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options, expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. But maybe you're unaware of new tools that can help your business stand out. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too. There's no cost and no obligation. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Get started today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who experience occasional bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort? Join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up and see how healthy your gut can feel. Align contains a quality probiotic strain developed by gastroenterologists. It adds more good bacteria to your gut to naturally help soothe your occasional digestive upsets with continued daily usage. This is the time to join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up from the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Sign up at AlignProbiotics.com.
Good morning, privates! Good morning, Drill Sergeant! I mean, seriously, what a pleasant morning. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping. You seem to be in a good mood today. Astute observation.
He's probably happy because he found out Honey Nut Cheerios can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
They're even shaped like hearts. So, in lieu of the obstacle course today, I propose a nice meditative nature walk. Does that sound delightful to everyone?
Yes, Drill Sergeant! Happy Heart Shapes are back for a limited time. Learn more about Honey Nut Cheerios by picking up a box at your local store.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so they're best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Brodes on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And now you can watch the show live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 97.3ESPN.com.
All right, Sports Bash on a Monday. It is 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And, of course, you can watch the show live on our website, 97.3ESPN.com. That's where you can see our Sixers insider, Paul Hudrick. The podcast is called Coming In for a Landing. Look at that. Got the Cape May Brewing Company hat with a free plug today for those guys.
Yeah, great spot.
Yeah, man. What's happening? How was your weekend?
It's good, man. Other than if I'm looking rosy red right now, it's because I've been shoveling ice all day. But other than that, doing well.
Dude, you have no clue. I was telling Gill off.
You guys got hammered, huh?
Yeah, I got hammered, and I was like, all right, you know what I'll do? I'll get out of my car and walk to the house. I slipped on black ice. I think I went 10 feet in the air. Phone went flying. I had to play it off to the neighbor, like, hey, Jim, how's it going? I just fell 10 feet in the air, busting my ass. My day.
They were warning you. Oh, you should shovel your driveway before because it'll be icy. I'm like, Then I woke up today and I'm like, yeah, I should have done that because it was awful.
Well, let me start with Saturday night and get your take on how much did you, Paul, take from that game against the Nets in terms of it was a very shorthanded Nets team, but did you take anything from that game as this is what stood out and I can move forward with?
Ben Simmons, just his value, especially defensively. Literally, Doc Rivers said it, and if you watch the game, you saw it. As soon as Doc Rivers decided to throw Ben Simmons on James Harden, that ended the game. They couldn't get anything done. And not only just Ben Simmons, I really liked the trio of Ben Simmons, Danny Green, and Matisse Thybulle, and the way they kind of just switched everything amongst the three of them. Because what James Harden did early and what he does so well is he hunts mismatches. So he'll get in a pick and roll with somebody, and he'll if whether it's Seth Curry or whether it's Tobias Harris, he'll attack him off the dribble because he knows those are the guys he can beat. But when it's Ben Simmons, when it's Danny Green, when it's Matisse Thybulle, it's a lot harder to do that. So what stood out to me most is just Ben Simmons, his value on the defensive end. I thought he was outstanding. The strategy Doc Rivers used of not putting him on Harden right away, obviously when the Nets are at full strength, that's something that likely can't be done. He's going to have to cover one of those big three players. But I thought just the way he handled it in the third quarter, and then Joel Embiid, the way he adjusted as well to the pick and roll defense, I thought that's what stood out more than anything was just Ben Simmons wreaking havoc on that end of the floor. Yeah, I mean, you talk about the change, and we've talked about this before. Like sometimes, if Ben is ultra aggressive on the offensive side, does that take away from his defense? That's why he picked his spots a little bit more? I mean, how do you read into the way they used him defensively? Is that to get more from him offensively? They have to kind of pick and choose how much they want him to exert. Yeah, so Doc Rivers said it was energy and it was fouls because obviously James Harden is one of the best ever to draw fouls. He's just so good at it. He's made it an art form. So he didn't want to put Ben Simmons on him right away because he didn't want Ben Simmons to get in early foul trouble and then have to sit. And then also he said it was energy because one thing that Doc liked too in the second half that Ben Simmons did is when they got those stops defensively, when they turned the Nets over, they turned it into points the other direction. And he said that he thought that Ben Simmons looked fresher on that end and was able to put pressure on the Nets because he was, not tired from chasing around James Harden in the second half. So I do think that's a factor. There's the best players in the world can do both, but even guys like Kawhi and LeBron James, they don't want to admit it, but they'll coast on a possession or two to kind of get their steam back and get their energy back up. So it's really difficult to play at such a high energy level on both ends for 40 minutes a game. It's just not really sustainable. It's a really difficult thing to do. Ben Simmons can do it as good as anybody, but I do think at times, you don't want to put him on the top guy defensively because it does take away from him offensively, and it does take a little bit of that, what he's good at, pushing the tempo and getting out in transition.
Yeah, I thought that third quarter was huge. Danny Green knocked down some shots there, too, and he was a little fired up, screaming towards the Nets bench or the ref. One of the two, he was getting fired up. That was a big stretch. But Joel Embiid. So I remember looking after the game going, 33 points. It just didn't feel that way. It was like, wow, 33 points. It was almost a quiet 33. But I thought what stood out to me is the 7 threes early on, popping a lot of threes. It's not something we're used to this season. So what did you think of Joel Embiid's game and the three-pointers as well?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that doesn't, over the years, when people say, oh, no, he shouldn't be taking threes, I've never really subscribed to that. I've always thought, like, if he can do it and he's good at it, like, let him do it. Especially this year, he shot the three ball extremely well, so I don't have a problem with it. With that said, I thought it was too many, especially in the first half. I think he took 4 in the first half alone. So, yeah, I thought maybe that was too many. He has said in the past, and he said again, if I'm open, I'm going to take it. And they were very open shots. I do wonder, he downplayed it, but I do wonder if the knee was a factor. He did obviously hyperextend his knee in that Portland game. So I do tend to wonder if maybe that was part of it. He said he's fine. He's feeling fine. this 2 days off will be a nice rest for him, even though they do have to travel, but will be a nice break for that knee. But yeah, overall, I'm really okay with him taking threes. 7 is probably on the border of too many for me. But if that's the look he gets, I'm going to kind of trust him to do it because he's been that good this year, and because he has shot the three ball at such an exceptional level. I'm going to kind of trust his judgment and say if that's what he saw, that's what he saw, and he took the shots he thought were there.
You were talking with Paul Hudrick. Check out his podcast. Coming in for a landing. He's at Paul Hudrick on Twitter. And, of course, Inside the Sixers, we talked to Paul right here at 3:20 each Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And, Paul, you mentioned in your takeaways the big three, and you got Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. My question, I guess, is are you ready to put Tobias Harris into the point where you don't need a player upgraded over Tobias Harris? So, like, if you're looking to add another guy, is it just a complimentary guy, or are you still looking for that guy that is better than Harris? Or are you now okay with Harris maybe being that second scorer? Because that's essentially what he is right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a black and white answer for you, honestly, because, because there are guys out there that I think could, like Bradley Beal, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, of course, like if there's an opportunity to possibly acquire him, you're going to look into it. I don't know how that happens without giving up Ben Simmons, which I don't know how comfortable I'd be with doing that at this point. But I think that he has been consistent and good enough that I'm not actively, I don't think they need it, I guess I would say. I think, me personally, I would look for a kind of on the margins guy who is, a guy who could definitely make you better, but not enough that's going to like overhaul the roster. We also put out those 9 trade targets, myself, Kevin McCormick, and Jay Blevins, 9 targets the Sixers could have. And the 3 guys I had, I don't necessarily think any of them would take away anything from Tobias Harris, but they could make that starting 5 better, whether it's Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo, or Patty Mills. I don't necessarily think it's a guy who would be better than Tobias Harris, but a guy who could maybe offer something that he doesn't, like a shot creator, I think would be big. But do I think they need to go out and get Bradley Beal? Do I think they need to do that to kind of put them over the top? I don't necessarily believe that. I think if he continues to play at this level, which to me is an all-star level, I think he's been that good. I think he should be, if he continues this into the all-star break, he should be an all-star. Him playing like this, I don't think they need to make a big splashy move. I think a couple moves on the margin to improve the bench, maybe add one more shot creator. I think you could contend for the East with this team the way it looks.
I can agree with you on that. And with Tobias, sticking with him, what can you say about his defense? We keep talking about his decision-making offensively and catching and shooting in transition and all that, but there's times where he makes some defensive plays. I'm like, damn, that is not Tobias that we've seen before.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, he's likely never going to be like a first-team all-defense kind of guy, but not being a liability, and he has not been at all this year. I would say his defense has been slightly above average, which compared to your point, Bros, when he first got here, it was below average. To put it nicely, he was not a good defender when he got here. Even Doc Rivers has said that. We all talk about, the Clippers Tobias Harris. Doc Rivers said, well, no, this isn't the Clippers Tobias Harris because the Clippers Tobias Harris didn't play defense like this guy that I have right now. And it's made a huge difference when you look at what he can do too. At 6'8", he's big, he's long, he's strong. He moves his feet well to handle, when you don't want him guarding, a smaller wing player or point guard for 30 minutes a game, but can he do it if he's forced into a switch? Yeah, he can do it in certain situations. We've seen, some possessions where he's looked really good. Like there was the Lakers game stood out when he got switched on to Anthony Davis in one spot and he shut him down. It was really good help defense by the Sixers as well. But I think that's the other thing is the team in general, I think, is playing better help defense, and their rotations defensively have been so much better. And I think that's helping everyone look better defensively. But Tobias Harris has been really good on both ends of the floor. He's been invaluable. He really, and Joel Embiid said that to us on Saturday. He said, I think he's an all-star because we're not the best team in the East. We don't have the number 1 seed right now if we don't have Tobias Harris. He has been that good. And defense, man, that's something he has really worked on. And you have to give him a lot of credit because, again, he was not that guy when he got here. But he has come to a point where not only is he not a liability, but he's actually helping on that end in a big way.
To me, you could just see how much more aggressive and confident he is. Like, he gets the ball and almost knows right away, I'm putting it on the floor, I'm going to pull up from the elbow, where before he would catch it and really not know, do I want to put it on the floor? Do I want to pull up here? Like, he just seems like, for whatever reason, he seems more comfortable and confident. Now, off of that, you guys have 9 trade targets for the Sixers. You can check that out at 973ESPN.com. You have 3. Blevins has 3. McCormick has 3. Of your 3, do any of them, Oladipo, Patty Mills, and who was the third one?
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. Do any of those 3 involve Ben Simmons?
No.
I definitely would not.
No.
Could you imagine?
I would not trade Ben Simmons for any 3 of those players. There are very few players I would even entertain trading Ben Simmons for. Like, frankly, that's my personal opinion. I think he's too valuable, and I think he still has so much more to give. He still has upside that I think can be untapped. So for James Harden, I thought about it, but for it has to be that level, though. It has to be a superstar player for me to even entertain it. The 3 guys you talked about that I mentioned, that I put in the article, you could do any of those without including any of the bigger names. Danny Green might be, and even Danny Green, like I'm not in a hurry to trade him because I think he's been pretty darn good for them. I think he's been an unsung hero. He's a solid defender. When he's hot from 3, he's really hot from 3, and he's just smart. He's a smart veteran player. Now, if I can get a Kyle Lowry or a Victor Oladipo, yeah, Danny Green, so long. Like, I would do that in a heartbeat. But yeah, at the price of Ben Simmons, no way. I think, if anything, and I mentioned in the article as well, a guy like Lowry, a guy like Oladipo can help Simmons because, to add that supplemental ball handling, not to say that Simmons can't do it, but it would be, you've seen what just Seth Curry, the ability to put the ball on the floor for him, what that's done for Ben Simmons and how that's opened things up. So imagine you get another guy out there like an Oladipo or a Lowry that can handle the ball, run the offense, run a pick and roll with Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. It just makes you that much more dangerous. And so those, to me, that's the upgrade, is trying to find maybe another guy in that starting 5 to upgrade possibly from Danny Green. But again, I'm not in a hurry to do that because I think Danny Green's been pretty darn good. I think the starting 5 is 13-0 now. So I'm not in a hurry to do that. But if that was a possibility, I would entertain it.
Yeah, you're looking at big picture and you're wondering, it's like the Sixers with Iverson. They had Theo Ratliff, but they felt, okay, it's a good regular season team, but we need Dikembe Mutombo to really make the run. You wonder if the Sixers are kind of there. This is a good team. It could be the number 1 seed, maybe, but is this a good enough team to be the number 1 seed and get to the finals? I think that's where they're at right now.
Yeah, I agree. They're and not only that, when you look at Joel Embiid and just the gear he's having, an MVP caliber type season at 26 years old. We all know the injury history. We all know the history of big men in general. I mean, credit to him because he's really taken care of himself. He's done a really good job with that. I think he's in the best shape he's been in since he's been an NBA basketball player. So that will only stand to help him as we go forward. But I think capitalizing on his greatness right now is also got to be a factor. And again, you get a guy like Lowry who just won a championship, who is just so tough, got that bulldog mentality, does so many little things to help you win. And could just do a little bit of everything. I worry about the size of that front court, but that could be the kind of move, Mike, that I think could put you over the top. Or again, Oladipo is just, he's not quite the player he was when he ruptured his quad, but he's slowly but surely kind of getting back there. And I look at him as just, an upgrade over Danny Green as far as he can handle the basketball. His shot hasn't quite come back to form, but he can shoot. And defensively, he would be an upgrade too. Victor Oladipo, to me, when he is healthy, is one of the better two-way guards in the league. So to add a guy like that to the mix, I think, yeah, that's the kind of move you're talking about that puts you from, hey, we can maybe hang with the Nets and the Bucks to, okay, now we definitely have a shot to knock one of them off.
Yeah, and obviously this Nets team didn't have KD, didn't have Kyrie, but watching some of those players log in a ton of minutes, did that really show you how thin they are with TLC, Norvell Pell, Tyler Johnson? I mean, we knew that
Tyler Johnson played 72 minutes.
I could not believe he was still playing basketball.
They were the process Sixers.
It was ridiculous.
It was.
And we're not surprised knowing that they're that thin, but wow, did that put it in perspective for you?
Yeah, and you know what? It kind of reminds me of a couple years ago, the Sixers make those 2 trades for Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. And yeah, their starting 5 was great. I think going into the playoffs, they were the top starting 5 in the NBA. But then the problem was they had no depth. Their only two reliable bench players were James Ennis and Mike Scott. And they didn't have a good, their backup center situation was a dumpster fire. So yeah, when you make big trades like that, it does cost you. Like, look at Jared Allen, I think is really good. And I think going to be really good. You kind of see already how good he's been in Cleveland and how good he was for the Nets. I thought he was a perfect fit for them. And, losing him and now having to play DeAndre Jordan big minutes. And to your point now, Norvell Pell, who I love Norvell Pell. Great dude. He's a pretty good player, but like for a championship caliber team, for him to be your backup center, that's not a great spot to be in. I know they just signed, purportedly just signed Noah Vonleh as well, but no, Vonleh, I mean, he's fine, but there's a reason why Noah Vonleh was still out there. Their depth is brutal. And I think, for the Sixers, and not only that, Brodes, on top of that being brutal now, what pieces do they have to add to that depth? They don't have much. The Sixers are in a really advantageous position in that they have tradable contracts. They still have that taxpayer mid-level exception to maybe lure a buyout candidate. They have a trade exception of $8 million from the Al Horford deal. So they have flexibility to make a move that perhaps the Nets or the Bucks do not.
I know it's tough, but watching the game, can you kind of project the Sixers matchups now after you saw them with Brooklyn, or is that kind of hard to do?
It's hard to do without KD and without Kyrie because my instinct would tell me
all over the place. I feel like.
Yeah. What about Thibault? Would he get in the mix on some of these guys defensively?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he'd have to. He'd have no. I could see him actually sticking Kyrie a lot because I think he's. I could be mistaken, so please don't bash me if I'm wrong. But I feel like Matisse has done when he's guarded Kyrie, has done a pretty decent job against them. So I'm sure you'd see him in the mix. And Danny Green will probably. It's like the starting five is fascinating because I'm kind of intrigued by who would cover who. My guess would be Ben Simmons covers Durant just because of that length. And Kevin Durant's ability to just shoot right over the top of people. I imagine Ben Simmons almost has to guard him. So then Danny Green likely gets Harden. And then I guess Seth Curry gets Kyrie, which is not a great matchup. So yeah, I do. It's fair to wonder how they would match up. But then again, we talk a lot about that. How our team's going to match up against the Nets firepower. Well, how the hell are the Nets going to match up against the Sixers? You can't DeAndre Jordan against Joel Embiid for 40 minutes. Who's going to guard Ben Simmons in that starting five? Who's going to, who's going to guard Tobias Harris? It's not an easy matchup the other way either. So, I still want to see that matchup. I still want to see both teams at full strength, and that will give me a better indicator. I don't think Saturday. I don't think you got enough of a big picture of what that matchup would look like.
He's Paul Hudrick at Paul Hudrick on Twitter. The podcast is coming in for a landing. Make sure all you Sixer fans check that out. And, of course, Inside the Sixers right here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. It's Sixers tomorrow night out west against the Kings. So a couple of late-nighters right here on 97.3. Sixers, Blazers, Suns. Kings, Blazers, Suns, and the Jazz. So a little four-game roadie. And there you go. You can hear those games all on 97.3 ESPN. And he, like all guests, appeared to be the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Paul, it's a great hat.
Thank you. Good beer, too.
It is a good beer. We'll have to have a good beer there sometime.
Sounds great.
All right. Take care. Paul Hudrick, everybody, right here. And don't forget, check out the podcast again. It's coming in for a landing. He does a great job. Great guest, as always. And, of course, we got plenty more coming up here on the Sports Bash with Mike and Brodes. Yes. All right, Brodes. We got Jeff Mosher coming up. Think by the time Moshe gets on, Wentz is gone?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But Moshe will have the latest on where he could begin. I got the wrong reads in my hand here. Let me get these reads.
Yeah, you got the Flyer schedule on there.
I got schedules in my hand. Josh isn't here. I'm going crazy. Hey, I want to tell you about my friends over at Bernie Robbins Jewelers. Do you know Wednesday, February 10th, is the start of the Crazy Cupid Valentine's Day sale? It's the first company-wide sale they're having in 15 years, half off everything in the store. They've created special selections of Valentine's Day gifts on sale, up to 50% off, interest-free financing. But here's my little tip to you guys. You can go now to their website, BernieRobbins.com/Cupid, and get all those sale prices. So you don't have to wait until the 10th. You can go to the website now and get those prices online or you can walk into the store on February 10th. Bernie Robbins offers online chat, virtual appointments, and scheduled in-store appointments to cater to individual needs, preference. I was in there the other day. They have a temperature taker when you walk in. Someone's there. You actually have to smile for the camera, take your mask down so they take your picture. It's all good stuff. You feel very safe and secure. But guys, Valentine's Day is Sunday. So Super Bowl Sunday last week, Valentine's Day Sunday this week. So don't wait. Go to BernieRobbins.com/Cupid and get 50% off something for your wife or girlfriend now.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons with a quick move down the lane and a left-hand jab. So Simmons very aggressive early on.
The Sixers are in Sacramento to face the King tomorrow. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Okay, class, let's bump it up to 9.
Come on, Limu, keep pedaling. We got to build our endurance to let more people know that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need.
Pick up the pace, bird legs.
Hey, don't talk to Limu like that.
I'm not, I'm talking to you. Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
In honor of President's Day, Dell delivers savings to help America's small businesses get more done. Office Anywhere, with up to 50% off high-performance laptops, desktops, and servers with Intel Core processors and top-brand electronics. Plus, refresh now with flexible financing options. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor who can help you find the right tech. That's 877-ASK-DELL or visit Dell.com/President's Day.
Hey, sports bettors, it's Mike Gill, and I wanted to share with you how I've been cashing in on the PropSwap Sports Bets resale app. On average, sellers on PropSwap have been making $500 a month. It's easy. Just post all your betting tickets for sale on PropSwap and let them find you a buyer. Listing your ticket is always free, and if it sells, great. But if not, the bet is still yours to keep. If you're not selling sports bets on PropSwap, you're missing out on incredible side hustle. Start making extra money today by downloading the PropSwap app and selling your sports bets.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
Tired of lying awake, tossing and turning, just hoping for a few hours of sleep? Get the sleep you crave with the one-of-a-kind Tempur-Pedic. Only Tempur-Pedic uses proprietary Tempur material that continuously adapts and responds to your body to relieve pressure, so you get deep, uninterrupted sleep. All night, every night. Now's a perfect time to renew your sleep with the one-of-a-kind comfort of Tempur-Pedic and save up to $500 on adjustable mattress sets. Learn more at TempurPedic.com.
Gary is refinancing his home, so he shopped around for the lowest rate and found it at Amerisave.com, setting him up for a lifetime of savings. It's one decision he'll never regret, unlike taking that gig in the testing lab at the deodorant company.
Raise your arm, please. Oh, man, I hate this job.
Pretty regrettable, Gary. Unlike finding that low mortgage rate at Amerisave.com that's got you on your way to a lifetime of savings. Amerisave's rates won't be this low forever, so go to Amerisave.com now. Lower mortgage rates mean higher savings. Call 866-514-SAVE or visit Amerisave.com/licensing for cost information, terms and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all states except New York. NMLS number 1168.
Before you move in and start making a lifetime of memories, there's something you should remember.
The value of working with a realtor. A realtor is more than an expert in the field who abides by a code of ethics. A realtor is your neighbor and your ally. Someone who puts your agenda ahead of theirs. Someone who understands your dreams and has the expertise to make them a reality. Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor, and the doors we open together. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. But maybe you're unaware of new tools that can help your business stand out. Go to getlocalcustomersnow.com for a free market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too. There's no cost and no obligation. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Get started today. Visit getlocalcustomersnow.com. That's getlocalcustomersnow.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Thanks to Paul Hudrick. He does a great job. Check out his 9 trade targets at 97.3ESPN.com. It's a co-authored piece with Kevin McCormick and Jay Blevins. They each picked out 3 guys, trade targets for the Sixers. So check that out. He also has his takeaways from the Saturday win against the Brooklyn Nets. 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Read more at 97.3ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at Mike Gill Show, at Brodes81. And, of course, watch the show live at 97.3ESPN.com. All right, so Schweim in the locker room did a little trivia contest yesterday. Not a trivia contest. He basically did like a pick the score for the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
All right, so here's the problem. The game was 31-9. Nobody came close to picking 31-9. So I don't know how he wants me to do this, but I just picked the guy who picked the Buccaneers score right.
I think that's the best way to do it.
He picked Tampa Bay 31.
Yeah, then you have to go in that direction.
Nobody picked a blowout. Every one of these games that was picked by the listeners yesterday who texted in, it was like 34-31, 31-27. They were all close games. The people who picked the Buccaneers to win, they all picked close games, 28-24, 28-21. They were all close. There was one guy, though, who picked 31 on the nose, so I think he should be the winner.
I would have to agree with you. Now, I want to say that I was absolutely right when it came to this over-under. Everyone wanted to pound that over. I said, no, I'm telling you. And when everyone wants to pound the over, you got to look the other way. And that under, whenever, especially you had a 3-and-out early by Brady. I even tweeted this out. Looks like Brady's a little nervous, as if he's nervous during the Super Bowl.
Yep.
3-and-out early, 3-and-out again. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? All those over people started to get nervous, as they should.
Yeah, a couple punts to start that games off. So, by the way, Bucks 31, Kansas City 27. That was Ed Shim who predicted that score from Northfield. So I'm going to go with Ed. I mean, I don't know. It's not my show. I don't know. Billy could have gone in here and looked himself.
You think Billy's banging the table right now saying he's unhappy with this?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll find some fault with it.
I'm sure. I wonder if we got a text
This isn't
message
scientific here. This guy picked Bucks 31. Nobody else picked Bucks right on the nose. All the Bucks scores were close. So, Ed in Northfield, you got Bucks 31. You're winning.
Now, I got 3 bubbles coming up from Billy Schweim right now. That means he's texting me out of, not out of the blue. I think he's probably listening.
Yeah, well, he posted.
He said that's perfect.
Yeah, he said, absolutely, Mike. He posted on the video stream. He's watching us.
Oh, okay. Well, then, all right. Well, that's good.
Billy, by the way, for future reference, he could have gone onto the text board and combed through these guys.
Right, so we didn't have to do this.
Well, he left it up to me. I had nothing to do with this. I feel like I just picked a random guy, and I came up with, this guy picked 31. The other Buccaneers scores, see, there wasn't that many people that went with the Bucs. Most people went with the Chiefs. But all the Bucs scores were kind of close. Like this guy, 24-21. It's only a 3-point game.
Yeah. Which, you know what? At the time, though, I don't blame anyone for feeling that way. And the fact that it played out the way that it did, I was just talking to you off the air a little bit about it. Like, this game isn't even conversational. It was a Super Bowl where one team just dominated and the other team didn't have a chance. What else do you want to know
let me ask you a question. At any point, like when the Chiefs were down, did you look at your betting apps to see, I can jump in here and get some good value on Kansas City because I think they're going to come back.
Yep, absolutely. I saw Chiefs +2 instantly, and I was like, hold on, do I take the Chiefs right, or do I take money line at that point? I was thinking about hopping on the money line. Yeah, absolutely. I looked that way. Who wouldn't? It's the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't score one touchdown. Not one.
The offensive line was such a problem in that game.
Someone told me that they were pissed that Andy Reid got away from the run.
I can see all the Andy Reid haters out there today loved what they saw last night.
Come on. Now, I do think that's interesting perspective, though. How does this change? We talked about Andy Reid. Like, if he wins, what does this mean for his legacy? Is his legacy now hurt after that, or is it kind of neutral? How does that impact Andy Reid?
It's a good question. Probably neutral.
Yeah, I think it's a steady put.
Yeah, because I think they're going to be in play again for the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. I agree with you on that. And it's hard to really judge a man where you got Wiley moving all around. And, man, they had a tough day. Wisniewski playing in another one. They had some tough days at the office. That line.
I said the only thing I took from that game last night that I can really relate to this show is that line is a clear indication of how important a line is to a team. And the fact that they have that great of an offense and that line had 3 missing pieces. Think about the Eagles this year. They had how many different games did the Eagles have 3 new starters? I mean, you don't have an answer off the top of your head, but
a lot.
It was multiple times.
A lot.
They had it for 1 game and couldn't figure it out. 1 game, they had 3 new starters. Now, they did something that the Eagles try not to do. They took their right guard and moved them to right tackle. They took their right tackle and moved them to left tackle and then put in a new right guard. The Eagles would typically say, we don't want to move you from here to here and you from there to there because we don't want to make that many moves. So could the Chiefs have not moved their right tackle to left tackle and moved their right guard to right tackle and just kept those 2 guys in their spots and got someone else to play left tackle?
That's probably the way to go. But if you don't have anyone to do it, because you're hurting 3 positions instead of hurting 1.
And that's always the thing that Stoutland has brought up. I don't want to make 3 positions weaker. I'd rather just try to tackle 1.
But just to put it in perspective, if you have like Mailata, who's only a tackle, and you need someone to play guard, do you start switching pieces around, or do you put someone like Mailata in a guard? And that's why you got to kind of pick and choose your battles. I can see it going both ways.
Billy is throwing his blue end shoes at the radio right now. That's on the text board.
He probably is at home. He probably is in-house on couch with blue end. He never takes them off. Sleeps in them.
The blue end shoe. Oh, man. All right, that guy, what was his name? I lost it. Where'd it go? Ed Shim in Northfield. I don't even know what you won. Billy never told me. Some sort of prize pack. Congratulations, Ed. Good communication. Good talk, Bill.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
He scored!
The Flyers are in D.C. to face the Capitals. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by the Wound Care Clinic of South Jersey.
High blood pressure or hypertension is very common and something many Americans have to keep an eye on. In fact, you could have high blood pressure and not even know it. After all, there's a reason it is known as the silent killer. It can put unwanted stress on your heart and can lead to serious health problems such as heart attack, kidney disease, sexual dysfunction, and stroke. Your blood pressure consists of 2 numbers, and these numbers may fluctuate during the day depending on your activities. But new guidelines from the American Heart Association actually lower the threshold that's considered too high. This new definition will result in nearly half of the U.S. adult population having high blood pressure, with the greatest impact among younger people. Take control of these numbers by decreasing sodium, cutting out smoking, and increasing physical activity. In some cases, medication may also help. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Brought to you by the Wound Care Clinic of South Jersey in Northfield.
Excludes Corvette.
with GMF financing. Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
It's President's Day all month long at Bennett Chevrolet with our biggest, boldest, best deals ever, saving you up to 25% off MSRP on brand new vehicles. Right now, Bennett Chevy is selling brand new vehicles at GM supplier employee pricing. Plus, you keep all the rebates that can save you as much as 25% off MSRP. But there's even more ways to save with 0% financing available. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett will pay you a minimum $7,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's a minimum $7,000 for your trade, no matter its condition. Imagine how much more you'll get for a good trade. And once you've dealt with our non-commissioned sales team, you'll rave about the wonderful experience with no need to negotiate and no hassles, because our team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. It's President's Day all this month at Bennett. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
This President's Day, Dell honors all you do with exceptional savings up to $300 off. Power your passions with our latest tech, like beautifully crafted XPS computers and powerful Alienware gear featuring Intel Core processors. Work, learn, or play from anywhere with essential electronics, including monitors, plus free shipping on everything. Call 800-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/President's Day. That's 800-BUY-DELL.
Home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers. WENJ, WENJHD, Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Jeff Mosier.
I think our track record in the last 20 years, how many NFC East titles, playoff appearances, and appearances in the NFC Championship game, those are some of the metrics I look at, and I'll compare our record with almost anybody.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
You know, something that Jeffrey Lurie said in that bite that brings Moshe in kind of stands out about why this team is where they are, the reason why they think the way they do. We'll get into that and more because Jeff Mosher is here for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And, of course, it is brought to you locally by Lyle M. Back. For everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ilovelylback.com or call 856-MAKEOVER for Dr. Lyle M. Back, proud sponsor of Football at 4. All right, Moshe, let's bring you in here because no trade has happened to this time period, 4 o'clock on the Monday. But what do we think will happen in the next 48 hours here? Do we think something is imminent?
Well, I think the imminent part is that Carson Wentz will be traded. I don't think we've reached a point where he can come back to the organization anymore. However, I think that the longer this lasts, and it could last beyond 48 hours, and that to me would be indication that what Howie Roseman is asking for in return, he's not getting. So he's hoping to see if anybody else gets involved, if he can leverage one offer against another. I know that, in speaking with sources, both Adam and I have said that Howie is looking for, a good compensation here, more than a first-round pick. Will he get 2 first-round picks? I have a hard time thinking that he will, but I don't blame him for at least trying. And, the longer it goes, the more I would think that if he had even close to that kind of an offer of 2 first-round picks, the deal would have been done already.
So you just said it. The imminent part is Carson Wentz will be traded. Do we get to this point because he just simply doesn't want to be here anymore, or did they make this decision that they're ready to move on from him?
Well, there has to be a first mover, right? I mean, because the answer to your question is yes and yes. But, ideally, I think the Eagles wanted Carson Wentz to not feel the way that he feels right now about the organization and come back and work with the new staff and rebuild himself. But clearly that doesn't seem to be happening, nor is Carson. Are they getting the signals that Carson is ready to do that? So at this point, they're in a position where they don't want to have a disgruntled player, especially a quarterback, coming into camp. So or being part of the team when he doesn't really want to be there. And so now they've got to do this part of it, and then that's pulling him off. And one day when this is all done, we're going to step back and look at all this and say, it's amazing how fast this all really happened. I mean, Carson Wentz has a pretty good rookie year, an unbelievable second year. You know, he doesn't win the Super Bowl, but he got them to the point where he put them in position to win the Super Bowl. Came back from the knee injury, had a decent, pretty good year the year after that, and then all of a sudden, the regression begins to the point where he's broken. He don't want to be a part of the team. They have to trade him and cut bait. And it's just, as I said on the podcast, it's a total organizational failure that this has happened. Now, that doesn't mean drafting him. People have interpreted that wrong way. Every time I've said that, people said, but we got a ring out of it. Of course, that part wasn't the failure, not drafting him. But what has happened over the last, year and a half to get to this point is a complete failure.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And now that Wentz is going to be gone, does it change your opinion on Doug Peterson being fired? Because it was kind of at the time, are they choosing Carson over Doug? But we did hear that it was a lot to do with the coaching staff and the direction of the offense as a whole. But, you always think in the back of your mind, well, if Wentz isn't here and Doug is, do you feel better about the situation? So just your opinion. Does it change your, opinion now that Doug and Wentz are both fired on the Doug Peterson firing?
It's a good question. My sense in what we reported was that there was far more to the split between Doug Peterson and the organization than just Carson Wentz. That obviously was a big part of it. But the question of why or how, right, Hunter? How did this happen was something that Jeffrey and Doug didn't see eye to eye on, and including how to fix it and rebuild it. And so one of the things we asked Adam and I in our podcast, and we pondered is, let's say you kept Doug Peterson and you knew you were going to be moving on from Carson Wentz anyway. How can you be positive that the next quarterback in line wasn't going to have similar issues with Doug or the coaching staff? Not everybody's the same. I'm not saying it would have happened to Jalen Hurts or anyone else, but if ownership felt that Doug's vision for a coaching staff was not good, and the fact that they had to fire so many coaches, whether it's wide receiver coaches or offensive coaches along the way, they didn't want to have to keep doing that. And they felt that Doug was not A, hard enough of a coach, and B, not a good enough evaluator of his own coaches. And so you can just insert name here at quarterback. If that's your fear, then really your decision to move on is more than just about the quarterback, It's about how you coach that position in general. And I'm not saying, by the way, that Jeffrey Lurie is right. I'm just laying out here what the obstacles were for both parties there.
Jeff, what do we know in terms of teams involved? How many do we know specific teams at this stage?
Yeah, so what I've been told, and this is pretty consistent from last week when Adam and I were on with you, is that the Bears and the Colts have shown the most interest. It's out there. This is what the league knows. This is what the chatter around the NFL is. I've also heard other teams being involved from both conferences. Now, I can't tell you the level of involvement. I don't know if there's been specific offers made or just calls checked in, just dialogue. But I can tell you that I've heard from several sources that other teams have called in and expressed some interest, or at least had conversations, and from both conferences.
So the Bears and the Colts, Adam has told us that on Friday as well. Those seem to be the teams that are out there the most, right? So of those two, we've heard this wonky thing where Nick Foles is involved. So it sounds like people are at least throwing things out there. You feel there's a better match between the two teams? Because you guys over at Inside the Bird said there's a lot of reasons why the Colts make sense. Why would the Bears make sense here?
Well, yes, you're right. It makes sense for the Colts. They have a lot of cap space. They have coaching familiarity with both Doug and Press Taylor going to be there. Great offensive line, which is something that, Carson Wentz has flourished with. I don't know that the Bears are the best situation for Carson Wentz, because you're talking about a team that's very desperate right now. I mean, all those guys were fortunate not to get fired. I'm talking about the GM, Ryan Pace, and the head coach, Matt Nagy, and clearly they don't have a lot of confidence in Mitchell Trubisky, even after he played fairly well when he came back, when he started over Nick Foles. But they've got to win, and they've got to win now, and they know they need a quarterback. So that's probably the best situation potentially for the Eagles as far as maybe getting more in return, because they know, Chicago's feet are to the fire here a little bit. But that doesn't mean that Ryan Pace and the Bears are going to do something stupid. They are desperate, but we've seen the results of desperate trades in the league before. They don't always work out. And it's funny. Someone made a comment to me, someone in the league, that it seems like the younger GMs are getting a little smarter these days. And, Chris Ballard from the Colts is a very smart GM. And for every good game of leverage and using the media that Howie Roseman plays, you have to admire Chris Ballard's, I don't want to call it a game, but the way he's talking in the media, because he has come out and said, look, we're not going to make a move out of desperation. He hasn't denied interest in Carson Wentz, but he's talked about building a program and not making it all about one person, and that there are other avenues to get quarterbacks, and that they think that they can win without having the most dynamic quarterback in the league. Now, that could all be a smokescreen to Howie to say, you're not getting 2 first-round picks to me, but I really do want Carson Wentz, or you could just take him at face value because he tends to be a very honest person. So it'll be very interesting to see how this thing shakes out, and if somebody else emerges from the pack here at the last minute because somebody else gets desperate.
Wentz's character has obviously been questioned, along with how coachable he is. Does it tell you anything that DiFilippo in Chicago might want to have his hands on him again? Right, Press Taylor at Indianapolis want to get his hands on him again. Does that tell you anything?
Well, let's break it down from both sides. If you're the Chicago Bears and everybody's pretty much on notice right now and you need a quarterback, to win, and you're DiFilippo, you have a rapport with Carson already, and everybody in the world knows that when you were his quarterback's coach is when he played his best football. So if he comes over to the Bears after this terrible year and Carson Wentz has a really good year, how good does that look for John DiFilippo? All of a sudden, you're going to hear John DiFilippo's name next offseason as that rising, not rising, he's been in the league in a while, but as a potential candidate to maybe be a head coach. So there's a lot of reasons for DiFilippo, not just job preservation for this coming year, but also beyond, to want to do that. And then, I think the same thing with the Colts. I know the Colts. I know this. I've been told this from people around the league that the Colts know that they've got a really good situation to be able to repair Carson Wentz. Of course, they have Frank Reich there. Of course, they're bringing Press Taylor in, although people maybe in the NovaCare would argue that's not the best situation. But when you've got that offensive line, they have some decent young receivers, have a good defense. I mean, that really is a good scenario for Carson Wentz to try to be rebuilt there.
We're talking with Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. He and Adam Kaplan share what they're hearing about a Wentz trade. And, are they going to get fair market value for him? Or, are we at the point where anything is fair market value? Or, is there a line? We keep asking, is there a line of demarcation for you where you're like, eh? Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. But any team that's trading for Carson Wentz, whether it's the Bears, the Colts, whoever, they're trading to get a starting quarterback. And they're doing that under the presumption that they're going to fix Carson Wentz and he's going to be a pretty good quarterback. So in that regard, I think a first-round pick is a fair ask, especially if you're the Colts or Bears and you don't have a top 5 or a top 10, not even a top 15 pick. So I think that's fair. I think 2 first-round picks like Matthew Stafford is not necessarily listen, I get why Howie's off asking for it, but I don't know if that's what he's going to get. And I would be reluctant to give up 2 first-round picks for a guy when you're in the back of your mind, whether you're the Colts, the Bears, or anybody else. You do have to wonder if your plan's going to work. You don't know that you're trading for the Carson Wentz of 2016 circa to 2017-18.
Definitely true. So if you walked out, if we said at the end of this conversation, Carson Wentz has been traded and they got a first-round pick and a player or 2, did Howie Roseman do a good job by getting a first-round pick in return?
Who are the 2 players? Is it a punter and a backup long? No, I'm just I think so. I think if they can get a first-round pick out of this, then it's pretty good. You'll have the 6th overall pick and then another first-round pick.
If it's Indianapolis, it's 21. If it's Chicago, you got 20.
Right. Yeah, I think you'd have to be pretty happy with that. And I couch that as saying, I don't know if you can ever be happy that you just had to go trade the guy that you moved up to number 2 to get, who would have been the MVP most likely in his second year and all that. But at this point, it's about saving face, right, and getting the most that you can get in this kind of sloppy, ugly divorce. So a first-round pick, yeah, I would say that would be a pretty good deal for the Eagles to get.
I wonder if you're a team on the other side trying to look for Carson Wentz, knowing that the Houston Texans are going to ask for a king's ransom for Deshaun Watson. It's more like you're giving up a ton, but you're getting a more known commodity rather than, hey, we might not have to give up as much for Carson Wentz, but his upside is just as high. Let's go take a risk. Do you think that maybe looking at the market for who's available right now, maybe that intrigues the other side, not so much the Eagles, but who they're talking to?
Yeah, I think the intriguing part is maybe having, if you're Indianapolis, Chicago, or somebody picking outside the top 10 or 15 to potentially get a guy who could play at an MVP level or a Pro Bowl level, at least for a bottom or half of the first round pick. That is a steal. I mean, look, if the Rams, for all they gave up, go deep into the playoffs, they win, because that's the whole point. You get Matthew Stafford, you add him to a really good team, right? If somebody gets a Pro Bowl version of Carson Wentz and the most they gave up was like the 21st, 22nd, and maybe even a player that wasn't, vital to what they do, then yeah, that's a win for them.
Yeah, Jeff, one other thing that's kind of like sticking out to me with this whole situation, like you said, like how did they get to this spot where we played 3 years ago today? Jason Kelsey got up there and went on this, rambling long thing. He opened up praising Howie Roseman. This guy was thrown down the hall and he came out a different man. And without him, he's the reason why we built this team. Everybody wants him gone. He went on about the coach, how it was the worst hire, Mike Lombardi. He was not equipped. He's gone. And now the quarterback who you drafted to kind of build this whole thing is now out the door too. Like, when we look at this, is it a sad story?
Well, when I use the term organizational failure, it is exactly what you just described. You had the highest of the high. Everything was working out. And then it all just went south. Every last bit of it. I mean, throw in the Zach Ertz stuff there too. I mean, that was an ominous beginning to the year with his contract and his feud. And by the way, he's close to Carson. We all know that. And so you wonder if some of that also influenced Carson's thought process on what's going on in Philadelphia. And it really should teach everybody that. And I used to say this in the Andy Reid era. When you cover this team long enough, that there's always like a little bit of a level of there's stuff that goes on with the Eagles that you just don't hear about with other teams, right? And when you try to talk about it, people will say, well, yeah, but they've been to the playoffs and they won a Super Bowl and they're good. Well, okay, that just means that they're able to at least, survive and endure it. But it's not necessarily the way you want to live by. And that's the reason why I think the Eagles have been successful. But when they're bad, they tank. I mean, the last year of Andy Reid, this past year, I think 4 of the last 7 years now, they have not been in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So I've wondered this a while. Is it starting to catch up to them?
Well, I mentioned, I referenced the quote from Laurie where he said, we'll stack our organizational next to anyone, something to that. We looked at it the other day. They have one back-to-back losing season in 20 years.
Yeah.
One. They went 7-9 in 15 and 7-9 in 16, and then they won the Super Bowl. So people keep asking why Roseman keeps his job, why Roseman. We just went through a bunch of lists of the top GMs in football, and almost everyone you find, Roseman is ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. I used to
are we too close to this? And I'm not even a Roseman hater. Like, I don't hate Roseman. I don't think he's this, I think it's more, is it Roseman the human being that people just don't like, meaning inside the building? Forget the fans just hate him for, and I think there's other reasons they don't like him. He's not a football guy, the way he talks, the way he looks, the way he dresses. I think those things are higher on the list of why people don't or factor in why they don't like him more so than because of the way he looks, talks, acts, yada, yada, yada. It makes his draft record that much worse to others. I think Jeff is frozen here, right? Do we got Jeff? Can you hear us? No, Jeff, we lost you. But I think all of that factors into, because I don't like all of these things about him, it factors into how they view him and the job that he does. So once we get Jeff back into the conversation here, I would like to kind of get his take on what do people around the league think about Roseman?
It's a very interesting question. And I do know that there have been some people who, here comes Moshe. Is he back in?
He is.
Yes. I heard the question. I can answer it. Sorry to cut you off, Hunter.
No, it's
Right.
fine.
So
You're more important than me.
You know, we got these lists. He's top 10 in most of these lists.
Right.
I feel like people don't like the way he looks, the way he talks, the way he dresses, the way he just, and they don't like that about him. So it compounds the way they feel about the job that he actually does. What do other executives around the league think about the job Howie Roseman does?
Polarizing guy, Mike, very polarizing. I remember when he went through that feud with Chip Kelly, and I wrote a story about him, Howie Roseman, and how he was viewed around the league. And I had a couple of people who used to work for the Eagles and didn't at the time. And this is just how difficult it is. One guy who used to work for the Eagles in the front office said to me, he couldn't stand Howie. He thought Howie was a paranoid guy and was always worried about someone to come take his job, and that fueled how he went about his job, and he would keep people at bay and not always listen to what they say. But then in the very next sentence, he goes, "But man, I tell you, I learned a lot from him. He's really good at what he does." So that just goes to show you the multi levels of Howie.
Well, how many guys in the league are quote unquote Roseman disciples?
Roseman like they came from the Eagles front office.
Eagles front office. You know, you got Jason Light, who just built a Super Bowl champion in Tampa, worked here.
Brett
I guess
Veach.
Grigson worked here. Brett Veach worked here. Grigson's out, but I mean, he was in Indianapolis.
Yeah, there are Roseman disciples, but I wouldn't say that they're all you can't call it like the Andy Reid tree, because they're not all big fans of Howie Roseman. So I wouldn't put it that way.
Is it like the Billy Bean situation where he's like, you go on the road with these guys because I can't become friends with these guys?
I think it's different. I think Howie even has talked about this, that he's not as detached. In fact, Howie brought up the Billy Bean in his last press conference. He brought that up and said that he's not that type of guy, that he just has a kinship with his players that he respects. And we've seen that with Jason Peters and some other guys that he had, the fat head of Carson Wentz in his office and everything like that. But I'll give you an example of something that just doesn't sit right with me, that reflects on the Eagles front office. And I'm not saying this came from Howie. I'm just going to give you an example. After Doug Peterson got fired, there was a TV reporter who doesn't usually break a lot of news, who had a tweet that said it was his understanding from a source that Howie Roseman wanted to draft Justin Jefferson, but the coaches wanted to draft Jalen Reagor. All right. I have no idea who that came from. That is not true. That's not how I understand it. My understanding, and Adam and I have talked about this, is that Howie was a big fan of Jalen Reagor throughout the process. So, but the bottom line is somebody, and I have to think that came from inside the building from someone, told a reporter who doesn't usually break that kind of news that information that makes Doug look really bad. Like, oh, Doug wanted Jefferson. It also makes Jalen Reagor not look good either. When that happens, that to me is not the sign of a really classy organization. Now, I think the Eagles in general are a classy organization, but in times of adversity, sometimes their true colors show in those little ways, and that would bother me if I were, Doug, if I were Jalen. I mean, I just think that was bad. That did not look good.
So do you think, again, like the problem is that people that work there, players or people, have more of a problem with Howie than Howie does a bad job?
I think that there's there's probably something to be said to that. I would argue that part of your job is your ability to work well and have a staff and listen to them and be a leader and a cohesive type of figure.
What are some of the things that Roseman does that's an asset to this team that is overlooked? Because I think the fans are so fixated on the draft. And specifically, like we got a guy who says, wait, you guys are crazy. Passing on DK is fireable. Well, every team in the league passed on him. He got drafted in the second round. So every team's GM then should now be fired because every single team at one point passed on DK Metcalf. But
well, I don't know. Does your caller is your commenter using that as an example, or is he saying that in itself is a fireable offense? Because
It seems like that in itself is a fireable.
There you go.
No, that in itself is not
watching
a fireable
on YouTube.
offense.
You can see it up on the screen for yourself. You guys are
yeah.
passing on DK is fireable.
No, I mean that's clear. That in itself is not fireable, especially if they were going with their medical grade, and it's my understanding they were on that. I mean, there are other good players also that they passed on in that draft that you can throw all of that, and obviously their recent draft history has not been very good. But he obviously manages the cap well up until this year where they're going to be over. But he told you why with trying to win the Super Bowl again, and he is normally very good at trades. He knows the league very well. And in the draft, even though his drafts have been questionable lately, he's very aware of the clusters that certain players are going to go and where they're going to fall to. So, he's not the worst GM in the league. He's not. He's just, I would say, not the best. And he's got some flaws that hold the team back, and he does some good things that help the team. So that's the whole dichotomy of how he went Roseman right there.
I think one thing in football, too, Brodes and I were bringing this up. If I was to say who's the best GM in football, I don't think fans just start rattling guys off. And that's part of the thing is fans don't start rattling off who the best are. And if you start to talk to people in the league and they start to rattle off who the best is, Roseman's name comes up.
It depends on who you talk to. Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, there are certainly guys in Roseman's position in the league that think that he's not the best GM and have had issues with him. So, I mean, that's what makes it polarizing.
Or because they just don't like him.
I don't know. I haven't done that kind of
such a horrible job. I don't know how anybody thinks
it seems more relationship wise, more so like, how he relates to people, how he talks to people, communicating more so than the X's and O's of the GM, if you will.
Right.
Nobody's ever said to me, that guy is a terrible GM. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's been said to me that he has real issues with relationships with people, and that could end up being a downfall, or it makes it a difficult environment to work in, which is a totally different way of saying he's bad at what he does.
Another, Jeff, and you can talk about this too, is the fact that he's polarizing in himself on what he's done and what he hasn't done. When he ran the draft, when he didn't run the draft, which picks is he responsible with? At the end of the Reed era, we talked about this before when Reed was drafted, and then he had some bad drafts, and Laurie had that press conference, and he's like, well, we had Reed's board, and now we're going to use Roseman's board. Well, if they went off Roseman's board, he picked Fletcher Cox, and he picked Brandon Graham, and he picked Zach Ertz, and he picked Lane Johnson. So he's got a ton of guys that he could say, I picked these guys, but who knows when he did. And then during the years when people want to give the Super Bowl team credit, who do they give credit to? Well, it was Joe Douglas. Well, then Joe Douglas get blamed for how bad those drafts were post Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of dart throwing that goes on. I think you don't judge a guy by individual. You don't judge a guy like just by a draft or just by free agency. You judge it by the totality. And you mentioned the difference in who had power when. So lost in this conversation about, some of the things that go on with the Eagles that are maybe not the best or not the healthiest. We didn't really talk about Jeffrey Lurie. And certainly that's the guy who puts people in the positions that they're in and enables things that goes on because he's the owner and it happens under his watch. And, there'll be people who tell you that there's just like Howie, there'll be people who tell you that they think Jeffrey is a great guy, a wonderful owner because he supports you. He gives you resources, great facilities. But then when they start to talk about some of the decision-making that goes on and his hand and his fingerprints on things, they'll say, well, that's not such a great thing, which is the story of the Eagles, really.
Well, the story for the Eagles will have to be on pause for this Football at 4 segment. And if you want to hear more about the Eagles, check out the Inside the Birds podcast. They got a new one that dropped this morning. And tomorrow we'll do more Football at 4. Jeff will be back on Wednesday. Adam Kaplan's here Friday. Andrew's here tomorrow. We got a lot on this Wentz stuff, so keep it locked to 97.3 ESPN. All right, Jeff. Good one today.
Take care, fellas. Thanks.
All right, man. He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. That, to me, okay, here's one for you. And I want you to ponder this as we have to go to break here, and then we'll come back. If you could do a 30 for 30 and get all of the info, what do you want it on? Inside the Eagles front office or the process?
Both are good. Both are good.
Sports Bash Football at 4, it's brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. Everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to iloveLyleBack.com. 856 Makeover, proud sponsor of Football at 4. And this hour of the show, it's brought to you by my guys over at PropSwap.com. Yep, PropSwap guys are back, and I've been using PropSwap. I got a ticket right now that I'm hoping that PropSwap will do me right for, because I got Kevin Durant MVP plus 1,200. Right now, he's got the fourth best odds. He's plus 750. I got it at plus 1,200. So what I would do is sell that ticket at PropSwap.com, and then you guys could go on there and make me an offer for it, because if Durant starts to go bananas, I'm going to sell that thing and make buco bucks. Did you hear the story about the guy who just sold the ticket and got $57,000? He had 3/4 of a parlay. He hit 3 legs. The last thing that he needed was the Chiefs. He sold the ticket for $57,000. The Chiefs lost last night. That guy won $57,000 though. We'll got more this hour brought to you by PropSwap. Go to PropSwap.com and get the best odds in the country.
97.3 ESPN presents high school basketball.
High school basketball coverage continues tonight on 97.3 ESPN. This is Tom Williams. George McNally and I will be in the Dixie Howe Gym tonight when Atlantic City does battle with Ocean City. How will Gene Allen's tough defense deal with the Raiders' Gannon Brady, the Cape Atlantic League's leading scorer? It's a Calvi Electric Game of the Week, produced by Prime Events. Atlantic City at Ocean City, tonight at 6 on 97.3 ESPN.
Kendall Auto Plaza offers the area's best car and truck buying experience with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. What's on their 100-acre lot? A huge inventory of Ford, Lincoln, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and over 100 quality and certified pre-owned vehicles. Whether you use your car, truck, or SUV for work or play, discover why Kendall customers are so loyal. Kendall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard, or shop from home at KendallAutoplaza.com.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options, expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach, eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own. East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Hi, I'm Larry Styler. And I'm Sean Styler. We'd like to remind you that East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows is a professional business open year-round and has been serving South Jersey since 1979. It seems, however, that many of you feel sorry for us in the cold and hold off calling until spring, along with everyone else. The truth is, we and our families eat as much in the winter as we do in the summer. So call us now while prices and wait times are at their lowest and learn how great financing plans can help you. And please don't feel bad. We have Long Johns and we'll wear them. So call 646-1444 or visit us online at eastcoastroofing.com. If you'll call, we'll show up.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, trust us with your family and home.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-2020. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, where we've got more ways to get what you need fast and take care of that fall tune-up. With our free same-day store pickup, you can order online and pick it up today at your local AutoZone. Or we can bring it to you with our free next-day delivery. Just order on AutoZone.com by 10 p.m. and we'll have it at your front door the next day. Getting your job done just got easier. Free next-day delivery on eligible orders. Restrictions at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
What does Schwab's modern approach to wealth management really mean? For starters, it means delivering personal solutions for your financial goals, not ours. It means empowering investors no matter how little or how much they have. And it means providing great service. If you're not satisfied for any reason, we'll refund your eligible fee and work with you to make things right. Guaranteed. Visit schwab.com/Egg Harbor. Compare us to learn more or call the Egg Harbor Independent Branch at 609-910-4807.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
As a minimalist, paying less for insurance is more.
Nice place. Is your house a bubble?
It's a dome. I find corners unnecessary.
At Liberty Mutual, that's how we feel about overpaying for insurance.
But I do miss having shelves.
What would you put on them?
Nothing, obviously.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Brodes on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. And now you can watch the show live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 97.3ESPN.com.
All right, 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Prop Swap, where America buys and sells sports bets. Check them out online at PropSwap.com. So, one thing, the Wentz stuff, I think will be resolved by the end of this week, right? So, the question I asked is, what do you want to get to the bottom of more? The process, Sixers story, or the Eagles, Howie Roseman, how much he's done, what he hasn't done, what he's responsible for, and all that. Have you thought about it?
Yeah, I think the process one would be really interesting, but maybe it's the recency bias that's coming in me now. I would really love to see how this fell apart so quickly. I think that's where I lean here. Both would be fantastic because you got to remember everything with Brian Colangelo, his wife's burner accounts, Markel Fultz. I mean, that entire situation of the process was insane. And I know we're aware of that, but because time has passed and now we're watching good basketball, maybe you don't really remember all the little things that went down. But man, you fall and collapse to this level. How did this happen? I want to go Eagles. How about you?
This is tough.
It is. Both are really strong.
Well, how would you I want to put a poll up just to get the people. So which 30 for 30 would you rather see made? The process Sixers story, or what would the Eagles one be?
The downfall of the Wentz-Peterson era. I think the recency bias is going to show here. I could be wrong. The process one is incredible as well. You got to remember, every time they drafted someone, they got hurt, whether it was Embiid, whether it was Ben Simmons. Every time you drafted one of these guys, there was an injury in that summer league tournament and the summer league play, but then you didn't get to watch the guy play, and it was a roller coaster. The game, like, when does the process end, though? Would Game 7 with Brett Brown against Toronto be part of the process? Because it is, technically, because those guys are in play. Like, when does it end?
Anything that involves Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons is connected to what they did to get them.
So it would go all the way from tanking with the TJ McConnell teams and the Rashawn Holmeses of the world and the Spencer Hallses and all those guys, all the way to getting Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey. There's more there. The Sixers one would have so much. I wonder if that almost, because you got to hit on all these points, will it water it down? Because it's so crazy, but there's so much. With the Eagles, there could be a lot that's going on behind the scenes, of course, but it revolves around one front office. There's too many front offices in the process that you need to talk about. Do you know what I mean? There were so many changes, and there were so many people, and there were so many in and out. With the Eagles and this 3-year span, it's more compacted, so you can get deeper into what went on with these people of Howie, Laurie. You're really diving into those people.
I don't know. Man, like, see, for me, the process is over. It ended, like, that whole era. But you still have the connection with the two guys who were still your best two players. Will always be connected to Sam Hinkie, especially Joel Embiid. Simmons didn't draft. Hinkie didn't draft Simmons, but he got the pick that got them Simmons.
Here's where I have the problem with the Sixers, though. it's not just about the roster, the players, the people who came in on the court. Then you got to talk about Sam Hinkie and Brian Colangelo and the wife and Joshua Harris and David Blitzer and all that involved. Then you got to go to Doc Rivers and Brett Brown and Daryl Morey. I just feel, and Elton Brand. And you can even dive into maybe some of the Boston Celtics stuff with Jason Tatum, Markelle Fultz. There's so much. With this Eagles one, it's almost Howie Roseman, Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson, Jeffrey Lurie. Four people to really dive into and really tap into their mind, where the story is simpler in terms of how many people you got to look at, so maybe you get deeper context. You know what I mean? It's the window. It's the size. The process is so much longer. I think it would take away from the story because you gotta attack so much.
See, all right. So the question we have up at 973 ESPN right now. By the way, some breaking Flyers news. The Flyers games Thursday and Saturday this week have been postponed against the Devils due to COVID.
Well, just to be clear, the Devils have the COVID issues because Sanheim had something COVID related. So it's not because of Sanheim, it's because of the Devils.
Right. So they'll play tomorrow against the Caps. Then they will not play Thursday and Saturday against New Jersey. So this is a Jersey thing, you're saying?
Yes. This is related to the Jersey thing, but we don't have all the information from the Sanheim situation yet. So just keep your ears out.
Okay. All right. So let's break this back down now. So these are your options, okay? Which 30 for 30 would you rather see made? The entire Sixers story, the hits, the misses, the injuries, the burner, yada, yada. Or the downfall of the Eagles since the Super Bowl, including what is Howie Roseman's role in everything, Peterson-Wentz relationship, all that.
It's got to go Eagles for me.
You think?
Yeah, I think it's simpler the more and
you
more
have
I
that
think
much
about
more
it.
intrigued.
I mean, I'm interested in both for sure.
A quick vote just came in.
It was probably me.
71% so far to jump things off. The downfall of the Eagles.
I do feel the recency bias is in play, though. So I am fully aware that because we're in the heat of the moment, I wonder if that's going to skew us and, make us feel a certain way.
I don't know, man. That process story is wild.
It is.
Like, you want to know, was Ben Simmons really injured so bad that he couldn't play? Was Joel Embiid really, did they hold him out for 2 years to try to get maximum draft picks?
I think also, remember, Adam Silver had to step in.
All that.
Yeah, that's a huge part. I think
then
a lot
Hickey's
more
manifesto where he just decided to leave. Then trading for Markelle Fultz. And what happened with Fultz? Then Colangelo.
What about Dario Saric? How deep are we going here?
He's definitely a part of all that.
I know. It's what I'm saying. There's so much involved in that story. It might be a 10-hour piece.
Oh, it would be. I mean,
it'd be like a Jordan doc.
It would be a 2-hour one.
A 2-hour?
Yeah. Did you watch the recent one yet? The one on Al Davis?
I did not. Did you catch it?
I have not seen it
yet. Okay. Good. I didn't want you to want to bring something up and then talk about it. Maybe we can both establish, hey, you both want to watch it tonight, and then we can kind of bring it up, something like that.
Not tonight. Bachelor's on.
That's fine. I can support that.
By the way, I'm watching this Your Honor.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this. So it's actually going on now.
Oh, so it's a live show.
Well, I didn't know this. I thought it was on Amazon. It's on Showtime. They had a new episode on last night. And then the following week will be the season finale and the series finale. They're not picking it up for a second season.
Oh, so it's a one-season hit.
That's it.
It's that good of a show, and they're only giving us one season?
I'm enjoying it.
I always feel weird doing one-season shows or two-season shows. It always rubs me the wrong way.
No, there's Netflix has a bunch of them where they're just like these little 10-seasoners, 10 episoders.
I know, but isn't there a reason why maybe there's not a second? Did it suck?
No, I think the writer does it with that intention. What do you mean, does it suck?
I'm just saying, if it's that great, there's got to be a season 2.
Nah, how many, a lot of times,
Seinfeld had multiple seasons.
Yeah, they did. They
Friends
were a sitcom.
Yeah.
These are, they do these little 10-season Netflix things.
You'd never see that out of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
No, you wouldn't.
I know. I see the difference, though. I'm just saying. I can't do the one. I'm not big on grinding out series anymore. That kind of faded away from me.
You haven't lived with your girlfriend long enough.
That's not true. We've been living together for quite some time. I lived with her before when we were just still living with family as well.
Does she work different hours from you?
Well, that's an interesting thing you bring up because I do this and I do other things, but I work for myself, and also this starts my work day, but I'm not finished at 6. Sports Talk with Brodes is essentially my other gig. So I work from 2 to 6 here, and then I do the game at night, and I do the post-game pod, and also that's my secondary shift, if you will. So I kind of work into the night. That's the way I perceive it, at least. That's how I sell it to myself. So yes, to answer your question, we do have different hours.
All right. So you're not like both having downtime at the same time.
No, not as much as we would like to.
Right.
She's watching Lost. She's like, she's watching every episode of Lost. I'm like, that show came out in in the 90s, no? Early 2000s? She can't stop watching.
I never saw it.
Oh, it's iconic. She's obsessed every time she's at, well, I'll leave it at that. She's watching it a lot. I'll just say she's watching a lot of hours.
All right. So we got the poll question up. Which 30 for 30 would you rather see made? The entire Sixers story, the hits, the misses, the injuries, the burner, all of it, or the downfall of the Eagles since the Super Bowl? That's right now at 973 ESPN. I'm torn on that because I was like so into the whole process. I was a big processor. Still am. Thought it was a wild success, even though people out there think they have to win a championship for it to be a success. I look at it a totally different way.
I do, too. I look at it the same way you do. The fact that you care so much for an 82-game season, you care. Why do you care? Well, because they got the pieces for throughout the process.
Yeah. Well, I also look at it as it was the organization did it as, they sold, this is to win multiple championships. It was a business decision.
Yeah.
They had a floundering business. They had a business that nobody cared about. Nobody. And now everybody cares about it. They sell out every night. They're the top, one of the top jersey sales in the entire league. That decision was one of the biggest business decisions that any organization could have made.
Yeah, let you tell us that you'd rather see Andre Iguodala and this team be the 8th seed, please.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people out there that feel that way.
That you'd rather be that instead of tanking on purpose?
Yeah, well, see, the immediacy of losing in the 3 years is what I think. Like, to me, it's like I won 10 games. What's the difference between winning 10 games or 38?
Nothing.
No,
better draft pick.
I feel like now.
But isn't that kind of goes against like what I know you admit it because this is what reality is, but you hate that because as a
I've always
sports
said,
fan.
I hate what they had to do, but I supported it. I don't like that is allowed and that's the best. I don't want to say the best. It's a way to go about it. I always said that. I didn't like it, but I understood it. There's people out there that hate it and just can't come to terms with it. You know what I mean? Like, you play to win. I get that, but winning 38 games doesn't help you.
Right. It's part about how you talk about us as sports fans in general. It's either you win a championship or you don't succeed at all. It's that way that we now view sports. If you're not good enough to win, well, tear it all down and find another way.
Right.
Almost.
And it's the concept that we've come up with, Brodes, where we're both kind of like, it's a regular season game. I can't learn anything. I'll wait till the playoffs. So I didn't feel like I threw a season away or 2 or 3. I felt like those seasons were going to be wasted anyway. Right?
Yeah, it's a funny way to look at it. It really is. But I understand the logic behind it.
Just think about if we didn't get a chance to watch Joel Embiid every night.
Crushing.
As frustrating as it was for the last 3 years, just think if Joel Embiid was in this league playing the way he is and you didn't have him.
This is incredible. Night in and night out, what you're watching out of Joel Embiid. It doesn't get much better than this. The fact that he can casually walk up the floor and hit that mid-range jumper off the bounce, or, he can establish himself. That's one thing I noticed a lot differently this year is he's establishing himself underneath the basket in the post at times where it's like, hey, just give me this damn basketball and I'll lay it in. Instead of, and sometimes he does this. He doesn't need to do it as much, though. He'll work his way from the block and work his way down into the paint and then lay it in. He'll just naturally establish himself right there from the beginning. He's starting to really learn that side of his game because he's so raw. When he came in, he doesn't know how to use his body to post up on certain areas of the floor. Now it's just elite in many different ways.
Oh, and he's so much more comfortable in like the mid range. Like he'll just pull up on the elbow jumper
off the bounce too.
Boom.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you see a 7'2" guy as big as he is, able to cross you over. I mean, it's just I think about that all the time when I'm watching him. For all the people who just hated what they did, thinking, can you imagine if we didn't have this guy? And yeah, they might never win a championship with him. I don't know if they will or won't, but man, he is just special to watch.
The ironic part is, though, you lost and you got the 3rd pick that year. So it's not like you tanked and got the 1st pick. He slid in your direction. He fell, remember?
I remember vividly because I was doing shows all the time saying, if you have the number 1 pick and you pass on this guy, you will regret it. You will turn out regretting it. And I remember he had the back problem. He ended up having the foot problem and all that stuff. And it was, look, you got to take the best guy. Because I remember that year was Cleveland had the 1st pick in the draft. They took Andrew Wiggins. It was winless for Wiggins, right?
Yeah.
And they took him. And I was thinking to myself, dude, and they traded him to get LeBron.
I wasn't anti-Wiggins, but I wasn't as high as everybody else was on him. But I understood the buzz. Everyone has that buzz. You know what I mean? Here's a young guy from Kansas, winless for Wiggins. I wasn't anti him, but man, he stinks. He's just a guy. He's just an average player.
Yeah, he's just a guy who can score a lot.
Yeah, not even a lot, just like a little.
Well, he did score a lot in Minnesota. I don't know what. He's in Golden State now, so there's probably a lot less opportunities for him. Although that team's not playing all that well either.
You see Steph drop 50+ the other night?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And he pulls up from like 3/4 court, 3-pointer.
Yeah, he's on the logo.
Yeah, I don't look back at, did the Sixers do it right? No, they made mistakes. Like, it's funny because like Hinkie is revered by many and Roseman is hated by many. And Hinkie's really the Roseman. I mean, he's like 50% on his picks. I mean, he missed a lot. He hit on a lot. But he was transparent about it. You know what I mean?
I also think it's different for basketball and football, though, only because with the 5 starters and losing in the NBA, getting that one guy changes. For example, you mentioned Joel Embiid. That one guy changes your franchise so much where if Howie Roseman was in a sport where one guy can change your team to that level, well, if Howie hit on that player, you would think about him differently. Because you need to hit on more than just one in football. You got to hit way more. One guy in basketball changes your franchise to possibly an NBA title team. So you only have to hit that for that one real pick.
Right. But that's the thing. Like Hinkie missed on Okafor. He missed on.
But that's another one where he had the 3rd pick that year. So then it's whatever falls to your lap is what you take. He didn't really reach for someone. He didn't go out on a limb. Jahlil Okafor fell to you at 3.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really go out and if he picked him at 1, I think we'd be having a different discussion about it.
Yeah, I mean, that night, I remember they took him, and then the next day it was like, look, they got this Embiid kid who had not played yet, and you had Nerlens Noel. And it was like, look, in the event that Embiid can't play, you have to take, like, Hinkie's whole theory was, I just need to find the best player. I don't care if they play the same position. I need a star. I don't care. And that's why he just kept drafting what he thought was the best player.
But isn't that different from Howie? Howie's almost as if I want to pick what fits my scheme. So let me go get a Jalen Reagor instead of a better wide receiver. At least that's what it feels like now. I'm not saying that's how it's always been for the organization, but as the last couple of years,
my point is, I think Hinkie was a lot more transparent about it. Like they basically said, the more opportunities that we get, the more chances we have to find somebody. We might miss. But the more chances I get, the more opportunities, the better percentage I'll have to find somebody. And it was like that transparency was, oh, okay, he's basically telling us he might miss on a guy. And like that to people was, well, he's going to miss on people.
Here's the difference. And you said this to me when I said rebuild. You can't do that with the Eagles. That would be the Eagles committing to a couple seasons of 0-16 and, hey, let me rebuild this thing. Let me take my whiffs. I'll hit mine as well. You can't get away with that with the Eagles. But I understand what you're bringing up. It's, hey, I'm not going to hit on everything. Let me hit on what I do, and we'll move forward from there. I just don't think it works with the Eagles in the nature of football.
That is a good point, and that is why I go back to this whole Roseman thing and say it's the bite that we use in the Jeff Mosher football at 4. Jeff Lurie saying, we have a track record that we will put up against any organization. If you look back at the Lurie era, he would say, we have a track record, and I'm okay with my track record. And I can't argue with him much.
It is hard to argue with him. I do think there's a lot to say, though, about the relationship side of things. Really do.
I personally think that is the bigger problem.
Right.
It's not the job Roseman does. I don't sit here and say Roseman has done this horrible job that he has to be fired. Has he made mistakes? Yes. Has he made draft picks that make you scratch your head? Absolutely. But if you study the league enough, you will go around and say, well, that team messed up a couple picks too. I think that Roseman would probably fall somewhere in the middle of the pond in terms of draft style. He's made a lot of very good trades. He has signed a lot of good contracts. I think it's the relationship side is where he rubs people the wrong way.
I think that matters a lot, though. Like, for example, if as a program director, what if you were A+ in, scheduling shows and working with the sales team to get all that stuff done and, making sure the commercial breaks are good, all that kind of stuff. You do your job so well, but you are horrendous to me and Josh, and you're awful to some of the guys in the other department, and your relationship skills are so brutal. Does that take away from what you do so well as a program director? And I'm only using that because it's easy to relate to.
Sure.
You're a phenomenal program director.
To be fair,
throw that at you.
To be fair, there's a lot of places where people don't like the program director because he has to make a lot of tough decisions and he has to play, so that's a tough one to kind of answer.
Yeah, and it's hard to relate it because that's not football.
I was literally just having this discussion with somebody about this very topic, about a program director, and that basically he was very close to the vest, and it was like, both of us were like, man, it was very frustrating talking to that guy because he was just so close to the vest, and they don't want to go out and be friends with the people because you don't want to be like, okay, I'm going to put you on midday and I'm going to put you on afternoon. Well, you only put him on afternoon because you like him better. It's a weird, spot to be in.
It is, but I also think you do a great job of it. Your relationship with us is so important. I think that brings so much more value to who you are as the program director. So I just wonder if you miss that side of the GM where you hit on your trades and you do this so well and the cap's great, but you don't relate with not even the players, but the people around the building and the people in other organizations. Does that devalue what you do so well?
It's hard because I go back to that Billy Bean comment. Like, I can't be friends with these guys. That's why I got to send you on the road because I don't want to be. I got to be the bad guy. Like, I can't be friends with these guys.
So does it come back to finding that balance?
In a way, yeah. I mean, like, we talk about Roseman in this light that he's just terrible, right? That he does all this stuff wrong, and in actuality, he's made a lot of good trades, so he's able to deal with other teams in the league. He's brought free agents here. We always no one wants to go. He's such people have signed here,
Right, you're right. No, because we do talk about his trades, but you're right. No, you're right. You are.
There's so much more to kind of unpack with that whole side of it, but it's an interesting topic. We'll look at the poll question at the end of the day and the next couple of days. I'm going to put that poll question up for like a week and see how many people jump on board because I think that one is kind of interesting. By the way, the Sixers are off till tomorrow. The Flyers play tomorrow. It's a no Philly sport night. Just all back. Super Bowl champion Tom Brady does it again. Unbelievable. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Go to our website right now, 97.3ESPN.com. Check out 9 trade targets for the Sixers from Paul Hudrick, Jason Blevins, and Kevin McCormick. Go there now and read the story and see who the Sixers could be looking at in a trade. It's all right here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons with a quick move down the lane and a left-hand jam. So Simmons very aggressive early on.
The Sixers are in Sacramento to face the King tomorrow. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
On some models excludes Corvette. With GMF financing. Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. It's President's Day all month long at Bennett Chevrolet with our biggest, boldest, best deals ever. Saving you up to 25% off MSRP on brand new vehicles. Right now, Bennett Chevy is selling brand new vehicles at GM supplier employee pricing. Plus, you keep all the rebates that can save you as much as 25% off MSRP. But there's even more ways to save with 0% financing available. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett will pay you a minimum $7,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's a minimum $7,000 for your trade, no matter its condition. Imagine how much more you'll get for a good trade. And once you've dealt with our non-commissioned sales team, you'll rave about the wonderful experience with no need to negotiate and no hassles, because our team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. It's President's Day all this month at Bennett. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Hey, sports bettors, it's Mike Gill, and I wanted to share with you how I've been cashing in on the PropSwap sports bets resale app. On average, sellers on PropSwap have been making $500 a month. It's easy. Just post all your betting tickets for sale on PropSwap and let them find you a buyer. Listing your ticket is always free, and if it sells, great. But if not, the bet is still yours to keep. If you're not selling sports bets on PropSwap, you're missing out on incredible side hustle. Start making extra money today by downloading the PropSwap app and selling your sports bets.
Chrissy is refinancing her home, so she shopped around for the lowest rate and found it at Amerisave.com, setting her up for a lifetime of savings. It's one decision she'll never regret, unlike wearing tap shoes to a surprise party.
Sorry, guys. Just trying to find the perfect hiding place.
Pretty regrettable, Chrissy. Unlike finding that low mortgage rate at Amerisave.com that's got you on your way to a lifetime of savings. Amerisave's rates won't be this low forever, so go to Amerisave.com now. Lower mortgage rates mean higher savings. Call 866-5146 or visit Amerisave.com/licensing for cost information, terms, and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all states except New York. And MLS number 1168.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Well, as the world's blandest man, the idea of insurance made for me is almost riveting.
Big fan of beige?
I find other neutrals too unpredictable.
That's cool. Liberty Mutual's just here to protect your home with customized insurance.
And here we've got my doorstop collection.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7, and because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so their best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Still not sure what to get him for Valentine's Day? Well, Untucked shirts are the comfortable, easy-to-wear gifts that every guy loves. And that's because Untucked shirts are designed to be worn untucked, so they help guys to look sharp and feel comfortable. You can't go wrong with our best-selling fabrics like wrinkle-free cotton and performance with stretch. Use code RADIO for 20% off your next purchase at any Untucked store or at untucked.com. Untucked makes the perfect Valentine's Day gift. Use code RADIO for 20% off. Untucked shirts, designed to be worn untucked.
Hello, Cape May County. This is County Commissioner Len Desiderio, co-chair of the County Recovery Task Force. We know that there are a lot of questions about the COVID vaccination. Please go to capemaycountynj.gov for information and to register in the state system. The beginning of this effort has been very challenging as we wait for the federal and state governments to implement distribution. But we already lead the state in vaccine administration, and we are ready to expand our efforts as soon as the state distributes larger amounts of vaccine to us. Please go to capemaycountynj.gov and click to register, and check back often for more information. You will then be notified by the state when your turn comes about how to schedule your appointment. Go to capemaycountynj.gov and register now. Please go to capemaycountynj.gov for information and to register in the state system. Let's vaccinate safely together.
Good morning, privates. Good morning, drill sergeant. I mean, seriously, what a pleasant morning. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping. You seem to be in a good mood today. Astute observation.
He's probably happy because he found out Honey Nut Cheerios can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
They're even shaped like hearts. So, in lieu of the obstacle course today, I propose a nice meditative nature walk. Does that sound delightful to everyone?
Yes, drill sergeant! Happy Heart Shapes are back for a limited time. Learn more about Honey Nut Cheerios by picking up a box at your local store.
Okay, set it down over there and then go to Bay 5.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
We need to keep going to finish.
Like Amir's warehouse. To expand capacity, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're a first-time buyer, finding your first real home can feel like this.
Hot property. Not going to last long. Multiple offers. 30 or 50. We need earnest money.
But a realtor has the expertise to strip away all the noise and focus on what really matters to you.
You're going to love this place. Great neighborhood. School is walkable. It even has a huge yard so Henry can practice his penalty kicks.
Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor with the expertise to make sure your voice is the only voice that matters. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
The radio home of the 76ers.
Simmons on a drive and down the lane with a right-hand jam.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
All right, just after 5 on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Well, Carson Wentz has not been traded yet, Hunter Brody, but as Jeff Mosher told us earlier, the imminent part about this is that Carson Wentz is getting traded. So how many people out there are starting to have mixed thoughts about this? You having any remorse or any change of heart?
No, I'm not. I just don't think that this is going to work here, but it is starting to really put it on blast that how did this happen? I think that's really, it's crazy. We're so in the moment. We're so involved. But now that it's clear as day he won't be here, we start asking the questions, how? How did it happen so quickly?
Yeah, I wonder what people out there, if we were to say, how did this all happen? I think most people's answer blames Roseman. But is it much more complex than that?
Definitely. And that's why I told you last week, I like to dive a little deeper. It's not just as simple as Howie Roseman. There are so many reasons why you collapse this way. It's not just one person. It's Carson Wentz's play. It's the offensive line. It's Doug Peterson. It's Howie Roseman. It's Jeffrey Lurie. It's the scouts. It's everything. You don't just fall that quickly because of one individual. That's too simple of an answer. It really is.
Well, that's a funny thing because in general, they did everything right for one season, it seems like, to win that Super Bowl. And now we're saying they did everything wrong post-Super Bowl to get to this point.
Is it impossible for that to happen?
Here's the problem, okay, as I kind of see it, as we kind of like look at what happened here. So much of the success of a franchise falls in the lap of a quarterback. You got to have the quarterback. Everything they did from, 2016, they drafted this quarterback. They made all these trades, which, by the way, Roseman should get a lot of credit for. And another thing Roseman should get a lot of credit for that we conveniently forget. Now, the problem is we don't like the player that he drafted. He traded Sam Bradford out of here and got a first-round pick in return to clear the way to let Wentz take over. That was an unbelievable move. Everything they have done since then has really been, hey, we got our quarterback. The problem is, like the year that, I'm trying to go back to the year they won that Super Bowl and how they hit on everything. The moves they made that season, like they got Alshon Jeffrey, they got Torrey Smith. They weren't like these great players, but they went out and got a couple of players to help the quarterback. And then they went out and got like all these veteran players.
Ajayi.
In season, they got Ajayi. But like Patrick Robinson, like no one entered that season excited. Like this is a Super Bowl team. The play of the quarterback made that happen. right?
There was more to it than that. Just like I said, there's a lot more to it, right? Like that defense was great that year. So that was better than the offense was.
Well, the defense was a lot of guys that either Roseman drafted or handpicked. Realistically, right? You had Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Those guys were drafted, and we don't know by who, but some people think it's Roseman, some people don't. Like the way they built that team, though, was just kind of unconventional, like all these free agents. And then, as we talked about earlier, Laurie kind of gave them the go-ahead, the green light to go for it again. And when you have that quarterback, that's what makes you go for it again. Like, you don't have Aaron Rodgers and start to say, don't do everything you can to win a Super Bowl. When you have Aaron Rodgers, you do everything you can all the time.
I agree and I disagree at the same time, though, only because I don't think they did everything they could to surround Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is not Carson Wentz, so it's a different story. But I don't think this organization and the Green Bay Packers did everything they could to help Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl this year. And drafting a quarterback would say that. That was more of a, hey, this is an organization pick, not an Aaron Rodgers pick. But Aaron Rodgers is so good and he's such an outlier that he was still able to get you to an NFC Championship game. But it is true that they did not fully go all in for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but here's the rub there, if you will. When you have that level of quarterback, I think sometimes you get spoiled to say, I can go and get other areas because I have this quarterback. I don't have to get him Hall of Fame wide receivers. He doesn't need Hall of Fame wide receivers because he's Aaron Rodgers.
Well, maybe he does because they did fall short. And I'm not saying that's the difference, but I'm just saying, maybe they made a mistake by doing that because maybe that was the difference.
Sure, but that's my point though. Is that's the thought process of I have Aaron Rodgers, therefore I don't have to draft a receiver in the first round. I can get by because I have Aaron Rodgers. He's going to make Equimonious St. Brown better than Equimonious.
But he's
St.
also,
Brown is.
the Packers have the ability to do that. To think Wentz is on the level of that is
but
not
that's
what I see.
but that's not what you see. But that might be what the Eagles saw is we have a quarterback that we don't have to go out and do these things because we have that type of player, that we don't have to get a guy in the first round because we have that type of player. So we can start getting guys in other areas because the quarterback is good enough to make the other guys better.
I think that's a little bit of a flawed mindset, though.
Not if you watched him in 2017. If you watched that season, you would say, I don't have to have first-round players.
You got right, but I mean, at some point, you got to realize that 2018 wasn't 2017 and 2019 wasn't 2017. So to keep relying that this is what you have, you got to make that adjustment.
Okay, here's the problem there. In 2017, he looks like this guy, right? In 2018, he comes back off that injury. He's not the same player, and he's coming off a major knee injury. He plays 11 games. He was good. He wasn't great.
Oh, he was he was 4-6, I believe. And then Nick Foles stepped in.
Yeah, I'm saying he played 11 games. He was just okay. He was good. He wasn't great. He threw, like 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So he still had a pretty good season. He just wasn't the guy he was the year before. So therefore we say, well, he wasn't very good at all. Well, no, he just wasn't the guy he was the year before. But he's coming off an ACL injury. Fine. We see guys off that ACL injury. It takes them a year to bounce back. The next year, last year, 19, he's kind of just okay again, and then he goes on that run late in the year. So I think the organization, after last year, maybe could have started to say, and then they draft the quarterback, of course, Jalen Hurts, in the draft. So in 2019, after seeing him for the second year in a row not be the player that he was in 2017, I think that's when they started to say, maybe this guy isn't the guy that we saw in 2017.
Yeah, I'm still having trouble with them, just the way that they handled it all from the jump. Like I said, it's not just one person's fault, but there's no way that you can justify this type of collapse. So something went wrong.
But the point I'm making is you have in your mind a franchise quarterback. You gave him a contract. He has this great year. You win the Super Bowl. You're the number 1 seed. You start to build your team with that in mind. When all of a sudden that player is not the player that you thought you had, that changes the dynamic of building your team all of a sudden, in my opinion anyway. If I think I had this great quarterback and all of a sudden he's not this great quarterback, That's a
Yeah,
problem.
but how has that changed? To think that if you have a great quarterback, that means you don't need to surround him properly. I feel like it's to be like, hey, we can get away with certain things because we have this guy. I feel like is a flawed mindset. If I have a great quarterback, I want to surround my quarterback with the best possible pieces that I can.
You might say that, and I think a lot of fans would say that. Give me a receiver that the Patriots said, I need to get for Tom Brady.
They have Tom
All right,
Brady,
give me a
though.
receiver that the Packers said, my point
And
is
they haven't
these
won.
teams are saying.
They won once.
I like how we say they won once,
Yeah,
and that's like a
in
failure.
an Aaron Rodgers era, one time? This is one of the best quarterbacks ever. One time?
All right, give me an example of a team that has that level of quarterback. And you might say that you don't put Wentz in that category, but I'm saying the Eagles did. They drafted him number 2 overall. They put him on that category. When you draft a guy that high and then he performs, once he performs at the level that you drafted him at, that's when they say, we got our guy.
Yeah, but I'm not demanding for $1 billion Devontae Adams. I'm saying we need to upgrade more than what you have. I'm not screaming for the top of the top elite ABs and Julio Jones. I don't need that. But I need proper personnel, and that's different. I'm not claiming you got to have elite receivers everywhere. You got to give you more than what you were given, though, at the same time.
Well, I guess. I mean, they won a Super Bowl with guys who were just average.
Yeah,
their mindset was, that's what we can.
Alshon Jeffrey that year was a better than average player.
He was good.
Yeah.
He wasn't special. He wasn't a Pro Bowl player.
No, but Torrey Smith was a professional speed guy.
That's an average guy.
Yeah, but he did it at a professional level. He didn't do it at I'm just fast.
You didn't have to get that guy. They got him cheap, in other words. Put it that way. They got him very cheap.
It was a good fit.
Yeah.
But it was a professional speedster.
Right, but I'm saying it wasn't a guy they had to draft early. They didn't have to do anything special to get him. He was wildly available. Nobody really wanted him. And they picked a guy up that fit what they needed. But that's the point is they had this. My point that it is they had this view of this is how we won a Super Bowl. And this is what we won with. We didn't have to go get this top-level receiver to do it. Our quarterback was good enough to win with Alshon Jeffrey. So we don't have to go draft a guy in the first round that's better than
But here's
Alshon
my problem.
Jeffrey.
It's like Torrey Smith, right? If you don't have Torrey Smith on that team, I don't think you win the Super Bowl. He played an important piece. So if you feel, we don't need Torrey Smith because Wentz could make anyone play that role, I think it hurts you. Like that mindset to me is what's flawed. Because Torrey Smith was a big part of being that speedster to
Torrey
stretch the
Smith
field.
is not the guy that I'm talking about. Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, the next year that they're missing a guy like Torrey Smith, the guy that can stretch the field and take the safety out of the box and do all that kind of stuff. They didn't have that guy. But my point is you don't have to get that guy. That is not a guy that you have to spend a lot of money for, draft very high. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
there.
and I don't care how they get these people, but they still got to get the right
But
people.
I'm saying, so they saw their blueprint to win a Super Bowl. That's what they're building from. To say, okay, this is what we did. We don't need to get this number 1 wide receiver. We had a guy who was a good player, not great. Fine. We had another guy who was kind of a journeyman. Fine. So when they were building this team with that quarterback in mind, their blueprint in front of them was, I don't need this number 1 stud wide receiver. We can get by with just an okay guy.
You don't need a stud to win. A stud.
Right.
You don't
but
need
the
that.
difference is now when the quarterback's play started to trickle down, then yes, you started to need more of these things. But they started to build a team with a different quarterback in mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's almost like putting all the blame on Wentz again, where, it's the offensive line.
No,
it's Doug,
I'm not
it's
trying
Wentz.
to put the blame on Wentz. I'm just saying because his play took a step back.
But his play took a step back because of pieces around him, the offensive line, like all of that played a role in his play stepping back. Then that kind of goes back to this offensive line thing, and that's where I can't just say, okay, it's just Wentz.
But he didn't have those
so
problems
much involved.
He didn't have the line problems the previous 2 seasons. He had the line problems this year.
Yeah, but you said he was good.
But he wasn't the same player in 19 or 18 that he was in 17.
Yeah, obviously.
That's for sure. So they start to say they're building the team with the quarterback from 17 in mind. But in 18 and 19, they no longer
but
have that.
But that's flawed on
quarterback.
their fault then. To even think of 1 year means this is for you to like, all right, let me change as if Carson Wentz wasn't that guy, they had a different game plan in drafting and all that, and they decided to change that route because of 1 year. I think that's a flawed mindset. If you had a blueprint and because you saw one season of Wentz, you said, hold on, let me change everything I was going to do because I had one good year of Carson Wentz, and then it all screwed up everything because he wasn't the one guy you thought he was after one season, you deserve blame as a front office.
Sure, you could do that. You could say, like, we misevaluated how good this guy might be.
Yeah, that's a problem from a front office standpoint, in my opinion.
I don't blame them all that much for that because the guy got hurt. So he might have been this great player.
But don't they
that
have to
injury.
adjust to that? Because they knew that season that he got hurt. You need to. That's part of your job is to evaluate the future.
Here's the
all.
problem. He came into the 18 season late, and then he got hurt again in that season. So that season's really hard to have. Not to mention, most guys, the year off that ACL injury, that next year after the ACL injury, they're not the same player. So it was really hard to evaluate, I think, after that season anyway.
It is. I just don't think that they changed any plan. I don't think because they thought Wentz was something, they changed the plan. I think this was their plan the whole time, and their plan obviously failed after the Super Bowl.
See, I think that they thought they had a better quarterback than they ended up with.
But why would that change your if this team had 20 plus years of success? They've somewhat been doing it the same way the whole time. So this isn't just let's change everything out of nowhere. This sort of has been who the Eagles have been.
No, because yes, it has been what they've been. They've built a team. They don't draft wide receivers. They don't draft offensive skill position players. They draft
draft them. They draft the wrong ones.
Well, because they've never had to do it. Then all of a sudden they said, this guy needs help. He needs more help than guys like McNabb when he was here. What was the argument all the time?
Yeah,
they never got him a wide receiver.
Which is true, because when they did, they went to the Super Bowl.
And Andy Reid's philosophy was, we don't need a wide receiver. He's doing the same thing in Kansas City, by the way. We don't have to draft a wide receiver. We'll get one someplace else.
Well, they ended up getting Tyreek Hill, who is that number one wide receiver. He just didn't get it in the first round.
That's Reid saying, I'll find a guy someplace else. Do not waste a pick in the first round. I got a quarterback.
Does it matter where they get him? If it takes Howie a first-round pick, then so be it. It takes him a first-round pick. You even said the Chiefs don't have a lot of first-round picks, so if it takes the Eagles the first round to get that Devontae Smith, which is a version of their number one.
I'm saying, when you look at Reid, when they had McNabb here, the biggest argument people had was they never took a wide receiver. They would never get McNabb a wide receiver because Reid's philosophy was, I don't need a wide receiver. Like, I don't need a wide receiver because I have McNabb. McNabb is good enough to make Todd Pinkston good enough. He's good enough to make these guys good enough until he wasn't, and they finally went out and got T.O. Yeah. But they refused to draft a guy in the first round that entire McNabb era. They never drafted a guy for him.
But it's not ironic. That doesn't mean it's right. It just shows me that it's not ironic that he gets to the Super Bowl when he gets T.O., and then you look at the weapons the Chiefs have, and you have number one guys. Whether they took them in the first round or not, they got them. Now he's winning Super Bowls.
Right, but the point is, the philosophy of the organization is I can find a receiver in round 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to go get a guy in round 1 or 2.
The philosophy's fine if you do it. They're not doing it. I'm fine with the philosophy. You got to find them in 3, 4, 5. They're not finding them in 3, 4, 5.
Well, absolutely. But my point, and so I'm saying, so if you have a journeyman type of quarterback, you might be more apt to say, this guy's not as talented. We need to give him a more talented player to get more out of him. They're looking at Wentz saying he's talented enough that I don't need to take a wide receiver in the first, second round. My point that I'm making is all of a sudden they decided to change their philosophy and started drafting receivers in the first round this year, the second round the year before. Kind of tells me they changed their perception of what they thought Wentz was.
Or the league has just changed and it's way more offensive minded, where the way that the game is being coached and the designs they've adapted to, hey, we want to be, because Jeffrey Lurie is obsessed, and I mean obsessed with these offensive plays and scheme. It tells me more so that Jeffrey Lurie's so obsessed with how the game is being played that he wants those players more so than anything Wentz related.
This part of, I don't know if you saw this Joe Santoliquito piece
I did,
today.
Yeah,
all right. It was, now Joe was the guy who wrote the story 2 years ago about Wentz that everybody ripped him. He kind of has a follow-up to that. It came out today at Philly Voice. And one of the things that stood out to me in this conversation that kind of made me think of this whole angle that was numerous sources stated. There are many things Wentz lacks, but he possesses a high football IQ and can recognize what a defense is doing. Wentz is a glorified system quarterback who needs the right coaching, the willingness to accept coaching, take proper preparation, and have a lot of pieces around him. He's not going to create like an Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes. That's where the Eagles got fooled after 2017. That version of Wentz is gone, and they still haven't accepted it.
I never have a problem, though, when people say, like, if you wait around until you find Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, have fun. Have fun, because it's going to take you forever. To say that someone needs help, to say that a quarterback needs pieces around him, I don't think that that's a flaw. You can win with players that need a good roster. Everyone needs a good roster. So this mindset of you need a quarterback that just takes everything and he's the only piece, you can't just wait for that quarterback because they don't come around.
I remember talking about this when they traded up to get Wentz. I was not a big fan of them going from, where did they start? They were like something to 13. They
jumped
moved twice.
Yeah, they did. They did move
and
twice.
my whole point was you're chasing this ghost that doesn't exist. You're chasing this franchise quarterback that there's only so many of them. Tom Brady doesn't fall into your lap. Peyton Manning doesn't fall in your lap. The difference is that's starting to change. These guys are coming into the league and they can play.
But they need help, though. Like, what does they can play mean? Because these guys, you can name all of them. They all need help. Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, all these, they need help. They need help. They are not just guys that can go out there and
Kyler Murray got help. They got Hopkins, and they didn't make the playoffs.
And doesn't that kind of prove my point, though? That you
not necessarily. Help. I mean, I think, look, in all the times, and during the McNabb era, when I was doing this show, people would say they had to get them wide receivers, and they never got wide receivers. Then they got T.O., and they went to the Super Bowl, and we talked about that. Yeah, they made it to the Super Bowl. But for the most part, there's not a whole heck of a lot of teams that you can go through that won these Super Bowls that had gone out and got this great wide receiver to go with their quarterback. Like, most of those quarterbacks are good, and they make the guys around them better.
Definitely. I'm not demanding a number one guy. Well, everyone has a number one guy, but I'm not demanding that it has to be a Julio Jones or an Antonio Brown. It doesn't really have to be that. It just needs to be better than kind of what we're getting. I need a balance.
Right now, the injury problem, like Alshon Jeffrey, he wins the Super Bowl. That year, he doesn't get hurt. They won the Super Bowl with him. So if he's not hurt the last 2 seasons, I don't know, is this team good enough with Alshon Jeffrey? Or all of a sudden do we say, well, no, he's not good enough. Well, you won the Super Bowl with him.
You'd have to surround him with that speedster. Now, if you get that professional speedster.
Deshaun Jackson.
Right. Well, then, yeah, of course. If you have Deshaun and a healthy Alshon.
So the process of how to of building it wasn't all that flawed. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, but you were talking about they would have to do it properly. Right. It's not about where they draft these guys, how they get them. It's just about getting them.
Right. But I'm saying, like, they had the same thought process. We have Alshon Jeffrey. We can win with him. The one year they let Smith go, they struggled. So what did they do? We'll go out and get the best field stretcher in the league.
But you also said this, that team in 2017 was so, like, perfectly fit. To try and duplicate that again is a problem. And they went to try and duplicate the same thing. It doesn't have to be the same thing. And it seemed like they were obsessed with the same thing.
Hey, you win one in your career, in your league, in your team's history. I can't really fault them for trying to duplicate it.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're even here today. But what else is crazy is this UFC 258 bet that DraftKings is giving you. They're giving you 100-1 odds on either fighter to land a punch. I mean, it's absolutely insane. You have to do that now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code 973. 100-1 odds that either fighter in the title fight will land a punch. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey. Only gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
That's crazy. 5 o'clock hour brought to you by Bernie Robbins Jewelers. Shop the Valentine's Day sale now at BernieRobbins.com. Yeah, 50% off right now at BernieRobbins.com. Hey, when we come back, we'll look back at a wild Super Bowl. Wasn't so wild, but you know what was wild about it? It was a domination. That's what was wild. Why did the Bucs dominate? Casey Joyner comes up next.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
He scores!
The Flyers are in D.C. to face the Capitals. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
On some models excludes Corvette. With GMF financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. It's President's Day all month long at Bennett Chevrolet with our biggest, boldest, best deals ever. Saving you up to 25% off MSRP on brand new vehicles. Right now, Bennett Chevy is selling brand new vehicles at GM supplier employee pricing. Plus, you keep all the rebates that can save you as much as 25% off MSRP. But there's even more ways to save with 0% financing available. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett will pay you a minimum $7,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's a minimum $7,000 for your trade, no matter its condition. Imagine how much more you'll get for a good trade. And once you've dealt with our non-commissioned sales team, you'll rave about the wonderful experience with no need to negotiate and no hassles, because our team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. It's President's Day all this month at Bennett. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who experience occasional bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort? Join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up and see how healthy your gut can feel. Align contains a quality probiotic strain developed by gastroenterologists. It adds more good bacteria to your gut to naturally help soothe your occasional digestive upsets with continued daily usage. This is the time to join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up from the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Sign up at AlignProbiotics.com.
Why would I quit my 9 to 5 to start a 9 to who knows when gaming company? Or eat pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Oh, I gotta get that. How could my favorite tech be an app that helps run my business? No offense, smartphone.
None taken.
Or fill my garage with enough servers to power a small country. It's because I wanted to make it big in gaming. And QuickBooks suite of tools helped me get there.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. Learn more at QuickBooks.com.
Looking for the perfect gift for your sweetheart this Valentine's Day? Why not treat your sweetie to a gift card from Dr. Lila and Back's Cosmetic Surgery Center of Cherry Hill? Gift cards can be used for anything from skincare products or services to surgery and everything in between. Hydrofacials, microneedling, skin rejuvenation, Botox, facial fillers like Juvederm, Radius, and Bellafill, liposuction, breast augmentation, and more. And Dr. Back's gift cards never expire. Call or stop in to get your Valentine's Day gift card. Call 856-MAKEOVER or visit iloveLileback.com.
Before you move in and start making a lifetime of memories, there's something you should remember: the value of working with a realtor. A realtor is more than an expert in the field who abides by a code of ethics. A realtor is your neighbor and your ally, someone who puts your agenda ahead of theirs, someone who understands your dreams and has the expertise to make them a reality. Finding the right place starts with you and a realtor, and the doors we open together. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Hey, sports bettors, it's Mike Gill, and I wanted to share with you how I've been cashing in on the PropSwap Sports Bets resale app. On average, sellers on PropSwap have been making $500 a month. It's easy. Just post all your betting tickets for sale on PropSwap and let them find you a buyer. Listing your ticket is always free, and if it sells, great. But if not, the bet is still yours to keep. If you're not selling sports bets on PropSwap, you're missing out on incredible side hustle. Start making extra money today by downloading the PropSwap app and selling your sports bets.
What can help you take advantage of today's low mortgage rates and save money? Rocket can. You could save hundreds of dollars every month by refinancing with Rocket Mortgage at today's near historic low rates. If your current rate is over 4%, with today's low rates, you could lower your payment by over $150 a month, saving thousands in interest every year. With a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, you could consolidate and pay off high-interest debt, tackle home improvements that could add value to your home, or even set aside cash for your child's future education. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this: what can give you the technology to refinance easily and save money? Rocket can. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com. That's 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Savings are based on quick loans, internal data. Points and fees may apply. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing letter. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS Consumer Access Order number 3330.
Good morning, privates. Good morning, drill sergeant. I mean, seriously, what a pleasant morning. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping. You seem to be in a good mood today. Astute observation.
He's probably happy because he found out Honey Nut Cheerios can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
They're even shaped like hearts. So, in lieu of the obstacle course today, I propose a nice meditative nature walk. Does that sound delightful to everyone?
Yes, drill sergeant! Happy heart shapes are back for a limited time. Learn more about Honey Nut Cheerios by picking up a box at your local store.
You can watch the Sports Bash live now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Search 97.3 ESPN or visit our website, 97.3ESPN.com.
All right, 5 o'clock hour of the show. It's brought to you by Bernie Robbins Jewelers. Shop the Valentine's Day sale now at BernieRobbins.com. Yeah, you can get 50% off right now at BernieRobbins.com and then in store starting February the 10th. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We're going to do a little look back at the Super Bowl. And I think it's interesting as we've been talking about this Eagles problem. When you watched that game last night and saw how a offensive line, a wrecked offensive line can impact the game, I think you saw firsthand, Casey Joyner, what happened last night to the Kansas City Chiefs. Their offensive line was a mess, and their offensive game plan was a mess with it.
It absolutely was. It brings back, I frequently refer to the old Raiders under Al Davis and their approach to the game. And John Madden used to say that the offensive line was the most important thing that you had from building a team. And Al Davis disagreed and said it was cornerbacks. But Al Davis thought the offensive line was the second most important. So that's part of the reason they focus so much of their energy on that group and why it helped them out. And that's what you're seeing in the NFL today. If you can control the line of scrimmage, if you could dominate with your offensive line, you can run about just about any type of system you want to run. And if you can't, you really can't run any system. And we saw that yesterday at Kansas City. They couldn't block up front, and it destroyed their offense.
It really did. Now, do you look at that as the difference in that game last night?
I think I watch a lot of plane crash investigation videos, and it seems like the Chiefs offense looked like a plane crash last night. Usually when you watch those videos, there's like four things. It's not usually one thing that causes the wreck. It's 3, 4, 5 things that does it. So I look last night and I go, the offensive line, I don't understand why. I get it, and I don't understand why you lose your left tackle and you decide we're going to take our right tackle, move him there. We're going to take our right guard, move him to right tackle. We're going to start a new right guard. Instead of having one potential problem, now you got 3. So that was part of it. It was Mahomes' toe. I think it was impacting him more than everybody thought it would. He just wasn't quite as accurate, not quite as mobile. He still made some great plays, but he didn't look quite like what Patrick Mahomes normally looks like. And I thought that as Peter King said, and the Chiefs looked like they were not a poised team. I think what happened with Britt Reed in that whole situation late in the week, I really think that troubled Andy Reid, and I think the team took some of that vibe from him.
Well, obviously, we got to give Tampa's defense a lot of credit.
Yes.
Now, do you look at what Todd Bowles did and said, look, their line is in shambles. We're going to come up with a game plan to go after that?
I look at it and say, and I'm not taking anything away from Bowles. Bowles has been a superb defensive coordinator. He went 14 and 34 his last 3 years as a head coach of the Jets. So let's talk about him being a great head coach. Sometimes your skill set says you should be a defensive coordinator. He'd have to prove that there's something more there, because it was a train wreck when he left there. But as far as being a great defensive coordinator, there's no doubt he's a great defensive coordinator. But look at last night. He sits back and plays cover 2 and says their offensive line has got 3 starters, 2 starters out of position and a new starter. I'm just going to take my talented front 4 and just get as aggressive as I can against that front and just sit back and play cover 2 and see if you can beat me. And it's your cover 2 or cover 4. It's not like it's not a smart game plan, but it's also we're going to do this, and until you can make us stop doing this, we're going to keep doing it. And Kansas City never got to a point where they could get them to stop doing it.
Before the game, we asked the question, if Andy Reid wins, what does this mean for his legacy? Well, he lost and they couldn't even score 1 touchdown. But like you said, a lot of factors. Does this hurt the legacy? Does it keep it neutral, knowing that there's going to be more Super Bowl trips with this quarterback probably? How do you see the conversation moving forward for Andy Reid?
You look at the Hall of Fame, and the Hall of Fame seems to say, for the most part, that you got to get 2 championships to get in. Tom Flores has 2, and he got in, and but you make some exceptions for a guy like a Bill Cowher. I think of it this way. I look at it from a different perspective to say, Chiefs almost lost last year. They were behind after 3 quarters and great comeback and things, but they almost lost. Imagine if Jet Chip Wasp doesn't work and they lose that game. Now Andy Reid's the guy who lost to New England in the championship game. Then he would have lost to San Francisco in the Super Bowl. Now he loses to Tampa in the Super Bowl. We'd still be talking about him as in about the same light as we were before this. So maybe it is that last year made a reset for him. And I keep thinking this idea that Mahomes is going to keep going all these Super Bowls. Think back to, I'm going back in the day a little bit, but Dan Marino, great rookie year, terrific second year, and everybody's like, he's going to make tons of Super Bowls down the road, and he never made another one. It's not guaranteed that Mahomes keeps going back to, they're saying last night he could win 4 more Super Bowls. I'm like, are you kidding me? Nobody wins 4 Super Bowls for the most part. He could, but let's not just make that the default for him. There was also other paths that say he might not win titles.
Tom Brady won the MVP last night, and I don't know that his numbers were jumped off like, oh, wow, this is one of his best performances. But I want to ask you, was this a great Tampa team? Or, did Brady will this? What do you make of Brady being a part of this team? Because this isn't a lot. I mean, they had a lot of guys that were on this team last year, and that was not a very good team. Did just adding Brady to that team make them the best team in the league for a guy who did not put up, Brady MVP type numbers?
No, it wasn't. He was the MVP because he had a good game, and there wasn't anybody else who was strong enough candidate, really. I mean, maybe Gronk, maybe Fournette with the runs, but really he was about the only guy you could pick because nobody really stood up. But the thing about Brady is they talked that later in the year, the Bucs were now let's run the ball. We're going to run, what did Romo say? Run the ball, throw screen passes, then go deep. It's a high percentage approach. It's almost a power football-esque approach. We're going to play that type of game. That's not what Bruce Arians normally is. It's no risk it, no biscuit kind of approach. And I think he adapted his approach, realizing I can still get the big plays. Brady's going to make sure I get the big plays in my offense, but I can start playing a little more conservative, a little more high percentage than I normally would. And that changed the dynamic of that team, which allowed them to get more out of what the talent that they had. I don't think that Arians necessarily is changing his approach entirely, but I think they finally reached that hybrid approach of what those two like to do, and it made this offense what it was. And this offense could not, I must say, protect the defense, but make play a type of game that the defense doesn't have to win the game.
I don't know why I'm on this coach legacy mindset right now, but you mentioned Bruce Arians. What does this mean for him? Do people look at this as Super Bowl winning head coach, or this is a product of Brady? Anyone could have been in there. I heard that all the time this morning. I'm like, whoa, are we doing that already? So, what does this mean for Bruce Arians?
What Bruce Arians said on the stage last night, he said, I didn't do anything here. All these people did this for me. I love the way he deflects the credit and says, hey, it's somebody else. But having said that, not everybody can do what he did. I think if he wins another Super Bowl, I think he could be in the, Tom Flores, Mike Shanahan, that group of coaches that wins a couple of championships and it gets Hall of Fame consideration. He had some good years at Arizona. And if he coaches another 3 years here, and let's say he gets one more championship, has another couple of successful seasons, a couple of playoff bursts, win maybe conference championship or something of that nature, you'd be talking about enough skins on the wall to make a case to put him in Canton. I'm not saying he'd definitely go, but you can make a case for it, which is amazing considering how late his head coaching career started.
Yeah, and for me, and maybe this is a flawed mindset, but if he was to win again, let's say next year they run it back, Brady and Arians win again, I would almost look at Bill Belichick and go, is that fair for me to do, or am I crazy?
Belichick himself says it's a player's game. He's very, very consistent about saying it is a player's game. There's that thing in Do Your Job afterwards where I think it's Edelman came up to him and said, Edelman and Amendola came up and said, hey, I'd do anything for you, coach. And he basically deflects it and says, hey, it's a player's game. You guys won this game. You guys did a great job. So I think, though, the thing about Belichick and Brady is before Belichick, I don't know. A lot of coaches might have tried to make Brady into what they wanted him to be. If he would have been paired with Arians before he became Tom Brady, Arians might have been like, you're going to be a no risk it, no biscuit kind of guy. You're going to be this type of quarterback. I think Belichick just realized this is the type of game plan I need to craft for this quarterback. And now he's made a blueprint that a guy like Arians can follow. So Belichick still deserves some credit for figuring out what it is that Brady does exceptionally well, maximizing the value of that and doing it over the long term. And then Brady obviously added to that by being able to do this for 20 years now, let's say.
Yeah, I know. At what point in that game were you watching that game saying, this is all Tampa Bay. Kansas City's out. They got no shot here.
I was worried for Kansas City when they threw all passes on their first drive and all passes on their third drive. And they had 2 runs on the first drive because Mahomes scrambled a couple of times. But when they did that, and then they passed all that they did on their third drive, that was a concern for me because when they played Buffalo earlier this year, and Buffalo played a bunch of cover 2, I think it was in week 6, Kansas City ran the ball 43 times. So we're going to go ahead and run it. And then they played against Buffalo in the championship game, and Buffalo did the same thing. And Kansas City said, we're going to throw the ball. You could do that against Buffalo. You're going to be harder pressed to do that against Tampa Bay. You're going to be harder pressed to continually do that. The other thing, and I knew that the Chiefs had a problem, is they weren't targeting Carlton Davis. They barely threw anything his way. Never mind beating him. Carlton Davis had been an atrocious coverage player since week 8. From week 9 on, he had given up a double-digit yards per attempt in nearly every game that he played in, and he gave up 6 touchdowns, and they weren't even throwing his way, which means that they were finding ways to hide him in coverage. They were finding ways to do things to make sure that he wasn't covering Hill, or if he was getting the kind of help that moved away. When I saw that, I said the Chiefs are going to have some problems here.
All right, we look back, and, Mahomes, I mean, he's obviously we would think he was going to be here a lot, but what about Brady? What do you see Brady still playing at a high level again next season? He said last night, I'm coming back. So when you watched him last night and watch him this season, do you still see that Tampa Bay with that team is going to be right back at it again next year? They should be better. I mean, they didn't have a training camp. They just kind of forced this team together.
They did, and look at what they were. Run the ball, throw screen passes, and go deep as a counterpunch. If they have the kind of defense that they have this year, if they can keep that crew together, I mean, Devin White's only 22 years old, and if they bring it, if they take what they have, they're going to lose some of it. They can augment it and get back to close to what they were this year. If they can continue to run the ball effectively, and guys like Leonard Fournette, as talented as he is, you can get good running backs. They're out there. If you give them good run blocking, pretty much any running back can be a quality running back. And if you get anybody's got a little above average talent, you can make them into a superb running back if you give them good run blocking. So if they keep doing that and say we can play that sort of game, and all we have to have Brady do is counter punch, throw deep, or just be an accurate short passer, and those are the things we're asking him to do. He must have played at 45. I see no reason he can't do it. We can have another 3 seasons of Tom Brady at this level.
Wow. It's incredible. I'm here for it. I feel like I want him to win instead of the Eagles. I'm just like, give me 8, give me 9. I think it's crazy that you look at who really was successful. I mean, obviously they were all successful, but Gronk, AB, Fournette, all these guys that he kind of said, hey, let's go do this in Tampa Bay. Let's make this happen. They really stepped up last night.
I think Brady knew that he could take those guys and what Brady, the Peter King article said that he wrote all the players and said, we will win. And he set that kind of mindset. And I think he almost has, Bill Parcells used to talk about having Parcells guys. I got Parcells guys. I got my type of players, my type of coaches, the guys who are going to play my type of game. I think Brady has those two in mind as being Brady guys, that I'm going to have a certain mindset going into these games, and you guys are going to be able to have that mindset. I can't do it all by myself is what he's thinking. I need to have people who can do this with me, and he gets those people on board, and so they can come onto the team. And even though they're going to play a role, obviously, with Gronk's blocking, and he caught a couple of touchdowns yesterday, Antonio catches a touchdown, it's as much that they set the standard of what kind of game he wants to play, and that they can take the Brady approach and obviously the Arians approach now that they merge together and spread that throughout the team. Because you don't want just one player, one coach being able to spread that message. You want everybody to be able to do it. And I think that's part of their value.
All right. Well, the season is in the books. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are the world champions for the second time in their existence. Tom Brady leads the way. Casey Joyner broke it all down for us all season long at KC Joyner TFS on Twitter, thefootballscientist.com. And another season, my friend, is sadly in the books. But it's been great having you.
It has been great being here, guys. I really appreciate it.
And we look to do it again for 2021. Thanks, pal.
Thanks.
Casey Joyner, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. This hour brought to you by Bernie Robbins Jewelers. Shop the Valentine's sale now at BernieRobbins.com. Hey, when we come back, we got 5 to wrap up the show. And, boy, what a crazy show it's been. Don't go away. 5 questions coming up next here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app, and watch us live at 97.3ESPN.com.
97.3 ESPN presents high school basketball.
High school basketball coverage continues tonight on 97.3 ESPN. This is Tom Williams. George McNally and I will be in the Dixie Howe Gym tonight when Atlantic City does battle with Ocean City. How will Gene Allen's tough defense deal with the Raiders' Gannon Brady, the Cape Atlantic League's leading scorer? It's a Calvi Electric Game of the Week, produced by Prime Events. Atlantic City at Ocean City, tonight at 6 on 97.3 ESPN.
Hey, bro. I don't think I can help you move Saturday. My back is really bugging me. I just don't think I can handle it. Sorry. Hey, dude, it's John. I know I told you I'd be able to help you move. I think Michelle's really mad at me for something. What's that, honey? Oh, dude, I gotta go. Sorry, man.
Call Clark's Moving and Storage in South Jersey for your next local or long-distance move. Clark's, dependable and always shows up. Call 609-889-0780.
Feeling stressed in your skin? Not with Olay Body Wash infused with retinol. Olay Body with retinol improves skin 3 times better versus the leading body wash to transform skin from dull and stressed to renewed and visibly healthy. Because when I feel my best in my skin, I don't fear stepping into a new dream or taking risks like starting my own business. Olay Body, fearless in my skin.
Liberty. Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
As a minimalist, paying less for insurance is more.
Nice place. Is your house a bubble?
It's a dome. I find corners unnecessary.
At Liberty Mutual, that's how we feel about overpaying for insurance.
But I do miss having shelves.
What would you put on them?
Nothing, obviously.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
O'Reilly.
Need new wiper blades? Not sure which ones to buy? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. We'll show you options for your specific car and even install them for free. Right now, save $10 per pair on Bosch Focus wiper blades, plus earn double O-Rewards points. There's no better time to replace your wiper blades. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 5510 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 5510. Enjoy.
Recently, Total Wireless helped Charlie Michelle stage a virtual dance recital for her friends and family.
This event was super meaningful to them.
Because when you move to Total Wireless, you can get amazing devices on nationwide 5G. And with unlimited plans starting at $25 a month, you could save up to $1,200 a year.
Thank you, Total Wireless, for helping me pull this off.
Total Wireless. Do amazing. Compatible 5G device required. 5G network in limited areas. Month equals 30 days. Savings claim made when compared to 4-line postpaid plans of leading carriers 10-20-20. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options.
expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach, eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
You ready for competition? It's time for 5 questions.
3 ain't enough, man, I need 5. Number 5 will always love you. 5 times, not 10, you think.
All right, time for 5 questions to get ready to wrap up the show. We got AC and Ocean City coming up at the top of the hour right here on 97.3 ESPN. A little light night on the docket.
Yeah.
By the way, 5 o'clock hour brought to you by Bernie Robbins Jewelers. Shop the Valentine's Day sale now at BernieRobbins.com. 50% off.
It's amazing.
That store's got a lot of nice stuff.
Yeah, going to have to check it out. All right, so how about this for our first question? Flyers Capitals. Any takeaways from the matchup on Sunday? Did you go heavy Flyers before the Super Bowl? Or
I watched. Yeah, I had it on. Couturier makes a big difference.
Yes, he does.
He does make a big difference. Although, it's 4-4. It's back and forth.
Yeah, the defensive issues are still there.
They are there.
I don't know how they win games. I really don't. I have no clue. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
Well, maybe.
It's not like Carter Hart was strong. Hey, that's right. Was that on Sunday? Was that when we had the group chat, me, you, and Schweimer?
Was that the game on Friday night?
What did you say the other day that you said this team needs to fight more? What were we? Oh, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they should drop
I
the
heard
gloves.
your guys' conversation on Sunday. So it had to be before that,
It's
right?
funny. I was thinking, though, isn't it so strange that in hockey you're telling me that you play this game and then out of nowhere you could just start punching each other in the face?
Yeah, it is
Imagine
weird.
in basketball where Embiid's like, you know what, Jokic? He's like, and they just square off.
Yeah.
In what world is that okay?
Yeah, it
makes
weird.
no sense.
And by the way, I don't feel there's any correlation to victory.
There's a sense of like 5 minute spurt of punch, but it's not. Billy said that this team is a fighter away. This team's
No, I heard that
defense away.
conversation, and I couldn't disagree with him more.
I know.
Your point was perfect.
Yeah.
If they had a defenseman, you wouldn't need to be bringing up that they need a fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
If they had better defense, them getting into a fight would not factor in at all.
At all. Not even a little bit. It's crazy.
It's just, look, I get it. Like, the game has changed, and I get it. You like a certain style of the game.
I'm not anti-fighting, to be clear, but I don't like the 90s version of fight. I think the fighting in today's game is fine. It's there. It's not overdoing it. It's there. There's a moment for it. I'm with it. But
Yeah,
it's
but I'm
fun.
saying, like, the style of the game is different. You could say I like the old style. That's different from saying you need to play the old style. Hey, I like the old style. They don't do it anymore. They don't do it anymore because it doesn't work.
Dude, the Flyers have tried that, and that's why they haven't been successful. They've been trying to live off that lifestyle. It's crazy. All right, question 2. How'd we do without Josh today? What'd you think? Better than last time?
Well, Wentz didn't get traded, so that helped.
Definitely did. Well, that goes into question number 3. Tomorrow, is Wentz traded?
I would think that by the end of the show, Wentz will be gone.
Wow.
That is what my feeling is.
That's crazy.
Could happen tonight.
Could happen tonight.
I actually have a draft written for the website ready to go.
Wow, ready to get published.
It's all just sitting there waiting for team and compensation. The rest of the story has been written.
Wow.
How did we get here? I don't know, but I sat down yesterday before the Super Bowl and wrote a Wentz trade piece.
With a cup of coffee.
I got a new cup of coffee from Honduras.
How is that?
Very tasty.
Better than the last one? Or
I like this one better.
Okay.
This one's got like a little raisin taste to it.
Ooh. Yeah. Now, you're still not on the black side yet, right? You don't do black coffee yet? Or you have...
Nah.
Okay, you're still with your cream. And you're consistently okay with this. You're not even thinking about making the jump, is my point.
Not really.
Okay. That's fine.
I like a nice hazelnut.
I like hazelnut, too. All right. What are you looking for tonight on The Bachelor? Or The Bachelorette? Bachelor. Is it The Bachelor? What's the season?
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to? Set the scene for me here.
I don't really
can't get a vibe.
Well, he got rid of the one girl who was like a total loony nutcase, so she's gone. So, who's the next villain now? They got to make someone the
that's coming.
Yeah.
You think he's on the right track, though? You like?
I wasn't a big fan of his selections.
Oh.
I don't think he had a great crop.
Now, does that impact the way you feel about the season moving forward? Does it check you out if you realize a couple chicks are no longer on the show?
Yeah, it's a car crash entertainment.
I can support that logic.
Yeah, I'm not rooting for one over the other.
Sometimes I find myself doing that.
Yeah, I don't feel that he has a great crew.
You ever think like, if I was on this show, they'd be loving me. No, I don't do that either.
All right, we're back tomorrow. No Sixers, no Flyers tonight. A little sad. Could this be the last day Carson Wentz is an official member of the Eagles? Find out when we're back tomorrow, right here on the Sports Bash on 97.3.
Tonight on Compass Media Networks, coverage of NCAA basketball. It's a crucial battle in the Big 12.